Okay, folks, here we go.
Guys, here we go. Let's have a good show.
One B, stand by. Okay,
Yeah.
Yacht, sir.
Yeah,
Take it.
take it at midfield.
Okay,
Just go
take
right
it.
now.
Okay,
Go to
well,
camera 3. 3.
Can you
Go
pull-
to the
Thank
perfect,
you.
just like that.
I'll just go ahead.
Yeah, graphics 2 is going to be up for the first. Okay.
Take it.
Go right now. Go to camera 3. Go. Yep.
Can you
Go to the
pull-
perfect, just like that. No music.
I'm going to hand to Q, Sophie.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
Radio.
Fine,
Be
I'm
on
gonna
radio
hand
in the Canal Zone.
All right, guys, mic check.
SCPM.
Go ready.
Okay, Ricky, mic.
Wait for it.
Yep, I am ready.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. 2.5.
Willie, mic check.
Yep, let's go.
One B, stand by.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6,
5,
4, 3, 2, 1, and we're live.
Okay, and go for it, guys.
Buenas noches, damas y caballeros, aquí del canal.
Yes, Guayabera night tonight.
It is. It's Panama night. It's Canal Zone reunion in Panama. So we figured, and like Ricky said, we promised we would be in Guayabera. So here we are. But it is nonetheless Friday night happy hour at the Balboa Yacht Club, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Once again here, starting the weekend off with my friend and cousin, Ricky Roy. What's up, Ricky?
Hey, what's up, Willie, man? Again, always grateful to be on the show, Willie, because, we say it every freaking week. We just love doing this show. So anyways, let's get started, guys. Thank you always from the bottom of our hearts, for starting your Fridays with us. The best happy hour. I'm going to tell you, on YouTube, on Facebook, Friday nights, this is the place to be. Happy hour at the
Indeed.
Balboa Yacht Club. Brought to you from SCN Canal Zone on YouTube and on Facebook. But you know what, Willie? On Facebook, you can also catch many, many, many Canal Zone pages that'll inform you of the zone and, all the stuff that's going on in the community. Well, anyways, to all you guys, thank you very much. Our first toast
Yes.
of
salud.
many.
Mhm.
Salute, everybody. Let's get this started.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get it started. We got a great show, guys. There's a lot going on. The New Year's already flying by. This is going to be, well, not quite the last episode of the month, but nonetheless, we're flying through the year
Oh, yeah,
already.
we got one more. Wow.
One more. The last day of the month will be next Friday. But tonight and this weekend is the Canal Zone reunion. I've seen so many pictures, so many videos being posted of the canal transits. I just saw a picture of Dave Rivera driving. I don't know if he's driving. Hopefully, he's not driving the Chiva Parrandera. It looks really, really cool. What else did we see? We'll go over here in a little bit, but it's really, these guys, job well done, man. Unbelievable what they've put together. It is a legit reunion now. These guys have elevated their game. It looked pretty good last year, but what I'm seeing from this year, phenomenal job. So excited with that.
3 times the amount of people, too. I mean,
Yes.
big stuff. Yeah.
It really is. I'm looking forward to next year. Class of '86 guys, get ready. We're working on it. If you haven't yet, go to Balboa High School Class of '86. It's on Facebook, and make sure you join the page there and get involved. We're starting to plan it and put it together for next year, and it's gonna be awesome. So I'm seeing all that stuff now. I'm really really looking forward to that. But
Yeah. If
but
you
I'm also
save
looking.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, dile. Go ahead.
If you save $200 a month for the next month, for the next year, you'll have enough money to go to the reunion.
Absolutely. And listen, it's very affordable. Okay. The timing of it, the reason they do it at the end of January is because that's the window before the springtime travel kicks in back to Panama. Everybody left Panama from the holidays. Remember when we were down there? I know I certainly remember it from working at Tocumen for Copa, that spring or Christmas break, everybody's coming in right before Christmas, and then usually right after New Year's, a week or so after, people start leaving. And so there's that heavy travel, people returning to the United States, people going off to school. And then there's a bit of a downturn until it kicks on for carnivals and the rest of the springtime. But
A lull, like they say.
yeah, it is a lull, absolutely. But that being said, the reason that they put the reunion on at that time is because it's affordable. It's the low season for travel, so the hotels are cheaper because they don't have
Rooms,
a
correct.
lot of people. So yeah, it's a great time to do it, and of course, it's in the dry season. So as you guys have
Yeah, the
seen,
weather's
if you haven't,
spectacular.
yeah, man, it's just a great time that they're having down there. I'm really excited to see that happen with us next year. And then, of course, Ricky's class of '81 will be down there as well. So obviously, we'll
Yeah, I'm
be.
definitely. I need to go. I haven't been there since 22, so yeah, it's about time to get
Wow.
back
I,
to
I
the
haven't been
motherland.
I haven't been back home since 2009, so it's been a long, long
Yeah,
time. But
yeah,
we'll have
I
to
was
do
like
our
that.
show from there.
2009 to 21, I didn't go back, and then I
Wow.
went
Okay.
21 and 22. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow, Ricky's got some cool bochincha stuff to talk about. Our birthday list is extensive. There's a lot of birthdays going on this week and this weekend. And then we are going to talk Panama Canal and Trump. That fire is not going out. No pun intended with the folks out in California. But the Panama Canal Trump talk is it's not even slowing down. If anything, you can say it's heated up even more. Now
Oh,
that
it's front
he's
and center, even worldwide. Yeah,
well,
even
before he was
worldwide.
a president elect, so whatever he said was speculation. But now he's the president, and so now he point blank said it. In fact, during his inaugural address, if there was one topic that you could say he focused on quite a bit, it certainly was the Panama Canal. He had quite a few things to say about that, and the new Secretary of State Marco Rubio, where's his first foreign trip going to go to? Central America and Panama next week. So it is definitely a topic that we can't avoid no matter what, and we're certainly not trying to avoid it. Right? That's something that's important to all of us. We grew up down there.
Yeah, definitely up my alley, like they say. But you know what? The Panamanians are taking advantage of this, and they're promoting Panama. And tourism is gone. Not because of that, because it's only because Panama is really popular right now, and tourism
Right?
is back up to 2019 levels. But they've definitely taken advantage of this opportunity and just promoting the living heck out of Panama because everybody's got Panama in their mouth right now. With all the
Yep. If you think Latin America right now, you're thinking Panama. So it's a great time for somebody to market it because it's if nothing else, you ask somebody, hey, let's go to Latin America. So where do you want to go? I don't know. Panama. I keep hearing
Panama. Go check
Panama.
out Panama. Trump
Right?
wants it. So
Everybody's talking
bad. What
about
the hell?
Panama.
What's going on there?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
It
all
makes
the
sense.
promotions are there on all the platforms and all the social media, everything is there. You look at Instagram, all the promotional videos and reels, and Panama is just like so beautiful to visit. I mean,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
has
Without a doubt.
a lot to offer. And like, yeah, it's still almost like virgin tourism,
Yeah.
compare like to
Absolutely.
Costa Rica, who's been doing it for a long time, and
Now,
other
um,
areas.
regarding this Panama talk and everything going on, there is something that I want to bring to the table. And this, I could wait to do it later on in the show, and I'll probably do it again later on in the show as we start talking about the whole Panama Canal Trump stuff. But um, something that I think is important to point out uh, with regards to us being Zonians and being a Zonian community. On Facebook this week on the Pan Canal Society page, there was a lot of conversation about Trump and the Panama Canal, about all those comments. And in one or several postings, one in particular, it started getting really ugly. It started getting where a lot of name calling, a lot of fist, finger pointing, and you know, typical politics and social media. They don't mix very well, and if there's, it's really sad that the one place that can tear apart Zonians is politics. Everything else seems to be okay. Zonians are very, very tight knit. Anytime that you go to a reunion, you get in the elevators. One of the funny comments you get from non-Zonians that just happen to be staying at the hotel, they're like, "Who are you guys?" Because we all have our lanyards and everything, and it says all that stuff. And the one common theme everybody says is everybody is so friendly and loving to each other. It's amazing to see that many people all hugging and laughing and just being really, really close knit, and yet somehow when it comes to politics, it all goes out the
And
window.
football. And football.
Yeah, but you can live with football. You can forgive when your team finally starts winning, and
Yeah,
get the bag.
no, we were fierce warriors when it came to football
Yeah,
and
no,
battle ball too in the summers. Oh my God, Los
battle
Rios! I
ball.
tell you, Los Rios,
Battle ball was
my
where
age
you.
group. Yeah, Los Rios were the champs in battle ball in my age group. Man, those guys were mean.
Battle ball
They
was when
they,
you
they were
take it.
the OGs of catching the noob. His first battle, his first game. You know how they get caught in the front and they
Oh
get caught
yeah,
from the side.
yeah. They all sit there with the
Yeah,
ball
those
behind their
Los
back by
Rio
the wall
guys were
there,
good
and
at
just
that.
kind of waiting
Yeah, yeah.
quietly, and they're waiting to sniper. and when you
Yeah,
least expect it.
they would hide behind people. I remember.
Yes,
I mean, we all had
yeah.
our tricks.
What
We
a
all had our
trip that
tricks. Yeah,
was. But
because you
anyway,
couldn't hang out in the back.
no. Well, you wanted to get in on the action, and then there was
You
that
couldn't hang
that
out the.
that
Oh, plus,
badass too
you're
that
gonna
was
get
very
punked.
very athletic, that would run up and jump up, do the splits, and the balls miss and everything, and and get a couple of moves. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's a cool memory, man. Battle ball was
battle ball
that
was
was a blast,
big in the
man.
summers.
Yes, it was. But the battles we're talking about here, seriously, it got to the point that the post that in question got taken down because there was so much vitriol, and suddenly the conversation switched to the Pan Canal Society is censoring content, and it's not the case. Nobody was censoring opinions. It's when people started calling each other assholes and racist and you're this and you're that, and at that point there wasn't any discourse. And so I just you know people that know me know that I love to argue politics, and there's a lot of people, in all honesty, when I first started doing this show, I wondered if they would actually listen to it because of their opinion of me. And so I've made it a point to always avoid politics. In fact, Ricky at one time earlier in when we first started, had even
Ricky, what
suggested
did I
doing the
do?
show. No, but and I told him, I said, Ricky, the problem is that even if you and I agree to always be friendly and have a friendly debate, what where it ends up devolving is in the comments, in the chats, which is what happened on the page here. And so, I just want to say, guys, the Pan Canal Society page is not the place to debate politics. There's a page called from the Panama Canal Zone Zonians. They have a page called No Holds Barred on Facebook. And it's, as it says, no holds barred. If you go in there, do not complain and get offended. Okay, because it is a place where you speak your mind. There's also one called Political Bochinche on Facebook. Again, designed for that type of conversation. That one, a little bit more monitored, but it is still one where you can have those debates, and they tend to get a little vigorous sometimes. But the Pan Canal Society page, that's the one page where we truly can embrace the Zonian community, right?
Right,
Because
because we
I know
love
for
our
me growing
Panama
up,
Canal.
prior to the treaty, and even then, I was still young enough where there was an understanding, and it was more like the whole to Jimmy from the Canal Zone. It wasn't to a Democrat from the Canal Zone, for example. It was really just to Jimmy from the Canal Zone. I didn't even really understand political parties at that point. And that's the Canal Zone that I prefer to remember, is the one where my friends were my friends, and it didn't matter what was going on with government so far away in Washington, right? It didn't even it wasn't about us and what we did. So just please keep that in mind, people, when you're out there and you're you know especially with everything going on right now with these comments with Trump and the Panama Canal, that it's not it's not that's not the place to do it. There's a time and a place for it, and just keep it out of the Pan Canal Society page. That's all that I ask, and I'm speaking on behalf of nobody. I'm not speaking for the Pan Canal Society. They can certainly speak for themselves, but when I saw how suddenly people turned, I mean, people were saying, I'm gonna cancel my membership to the society. I'm thinking, wow, really? Simply because they took down a posting where people were telling each other to fuck off.
Willie, let's go.
So
Bochinche talk.
Aguanta, papa. This is important. Seriously, Ricky. I'm serious. This is something that I've worked really hard to make this program a place where we always maintain decorum and friendship, and we celebrate the community, as opposed to split it up. And the society is one that we advocate a lot for, and we certainly speak very highly of the society. So it was something that bugged me, man, and so I had to get it off my chest. But yes, let's move on now, because the show must go on. Now, I am curious about something, Ricky, and I don't know if it's just because it's the reunion or what, but I'm not seeing any comments up there, and let me make sure
Dale,
that.
pues sigue, vamos a seguir.
Yeah, keep going. I'm just gonna go ahead and pick up the You know what? Let's do this. Let's go and switch over to our bochincha segment, because that's we're gonna kick that off here.
El bochinche, el bochinche, el bochinche.
Bochinche and our favorite tune there. So, Ricky, kick us off, man. What's going on in Panama?
Well, listen, this is all good stuff. Just kind of catch everybody up on what's happening. If you guys remember, exactly 120 days ago, I had mentioned this one guy was going to live underwater and try to break the world record. Well, today is day 120. So today he broke the record. This German guy in Panama, in this community out there in Bocas that is out in the water. They got these homes out in the water, and you can rent them or Airbnb and whatever. This guy lived underwater, like 30 feet underwater, like he was down there for 120 days. So today he broke the record. That was going to start that out of Panama. So that's one of the good news. Yeah, another good news. If you guys are into college football, the champions Ohio Buckeyes, the guy number 10, it's a Cologne kid. Number 10, Mr. Burke, played for Ohio, cornerback.
Okay,
Cologne kid. Yeah, so right on to that guy. Actually, cheers to that guy.
Yeah,
Cologne always did have some good athletes. They
a lot of track and field, a lot of Olympic and
there
Pan
was that
American
one
Games
or
runners.
two.
Yeah,
One or two super athletes. Yeah, and from the college college championship, we have a Panamanian.
Nice.
And then speaking of Panamanians doing well in the state, you guys, if you remember, we also talked about the singer on the one show, the niece of Hector and Bosco Hoyt. She didn't win her tournament, but definitely came in second. So to us, that is beautiful. Good job, young lady. And hope that you get that record label. Little update on the Canal community. February 22nd, guys, is the Space Coast Potluck. So that's about a month away. We're going to start informing you guys about it. So all you guys live in Florida or elsewhere, get down there and enjoy some Zonian camaraderie. Now, this is down in where the Grimacing gang controls this area of Florida. This is down by Cape Canaveral at the VFW post 10131 in Cape Canaveral. It's so February 22nd is that potluck. Now, a couple things are happening on that day. The day before, Willie, they're having a meet and greet and at a place called the Timeout, which is a sports bar in Cocoa Village. We have talked about this, but it's coming up.
Right on.
And so they're going to meet the night before, a bunch of Zonians hang out. And then there's like this tribute band that plays the Beatles. We'll be playing that night as well. Very cool. On the 21st is the meet and greet. And then in Cocoa Village. And then the next day is the Space Coast Potluck.
We'll get more information on that when for our K-Pasa segment either next week or the week after.
Yeah, we'll do it next week because a couple things are happening, Willie. They have the first drawing on that early bird lottery thing that they have.
That's right.
Correct. So if you win that by A, having your membership dues up to date, and B, you also have to have your rooms reserved. You can win that night a 2-night stay at the reunion.
That's great,
guys. Man. Yeah, so they have a luncheon meeting from 11 a.m. to 2:30, and then the society of folks, Carl and his gang will be meeting, and then from 2:45 to 5 p.m. is the potluck. So bring food or just bring yourself. But yeah, that's coming up, and it's on 105 Long Point Road in Cape Canaveral.
Perfect. And we'll have more information on that for you guys in K-Pos as well. We'll have addresses and everything up there so you guys can plan accordingly.
Get down there. Yeah, get down there. Yeah, and a bunch of the Grimacins are down there. Speaking of the Grimacins, congratulations to Richard and Diana, who recently became a grandfather.
Yes.
Daughter Carly had a boy named Theo. Cool name, by the way. I love that name, Theo. Right? So congrats to them. Another Grimacin, also the grandmother, because this is Richard's sister Elizabeth, married to Bill Fay out of Balboa.
That's right.
They just had their third grandchild, but the first granddaughter. And if you guys know Bill, you know that granddaughter is going to be, he's going to be very protective of that first granddaughter.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Her name is Ania Joy.
Nice.
And so
beautiful
congratulations. Name. And then last but not least, Carl Orvis also a grandfather.
I saw that.
He has a granddaughter, Isla Ray.
Oh,
I
what a
love
great name.
uh, Let's be the modern names. But right on. Congratulations to you guys,
Yeah,
grandparents.
absolutely. Toast to that. Salute. Absolutely. And then before we go on, Ricky, let's acknowledge some people in the chat there that are saying hello.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you again for guys for commenting. And I did test the chat. It does work on YouTube. It was maybe it started a little slow, but Frank, good to see you. Hello on the show again as usual on Friday nights. Thanks for joining us. Uh, Dodd, thanks for that message. Appreciate you saying that. It really is something, guys. If it comes from me, then it's really coming from the heart because I love politics, guys, and it's just again, there's a time and a place for it, and the Canal Zone, the Pan Canal Society page is definitely not the place for it. So
Yeah,
thank you,
you're right,
Joe.
Willie. We are definitely about a brotherhood here. You're all right about
Yeah,
that,
that's
Willie.
that's the first and foremost, man. It's all we have left of the Canal Zone is each other and our memories, right? So let's make the best of it and not split it up. So Michael, appreciate the kind words as well. Yeah, no political sides, it's all about Panama, our home. Absolutely. And when we've seen that a lot this week, which is really really cool, um, which probably has helped to kind of taper
Apparently,
that
because
down a bit.
God, you were really into that. Sorry I had to interrupt you there, but brother, you were going too sentimental there.
Well, but it was
I
it
get it. No,
was
I get it. I get it. I get it,
it,
Willie. I
it
get it.
was
You, I
that's the
know that you're
one
fighting
solid
hard.
place for everybody.
Yeah,
And the
and you're
society
you're
does a
right
lot
about
to
that.
help us out. So
Yeah.
but yeah.
And tell them the truth. You were the one that told them to take that post
Well,
down.
I did mention, I messaged to John. I said, hey, that post is starting to get ugly because people were coming and attacking me, and I was the one that was saying, hey, it's just the ugly insults, guys. We don't need those, right? I mean,
Dale,
we
dale,
have our
gordo, dale, dale.
positions,
You're
man.
good. You're good. We're good, man. And listen,
Pero,
no fighting. We
yeah,
always tell you on this show, no fighting
yeah,
between
we
us
don't fight. Absolutely,
or
there's
the
no
Panamanians.
place
No
for that.
fighting with anybody. If we're gonna fight with anybody, Greenland. No, just kidding.
Yeah, Greenland is cool. None of us are from Greenland. We're good with that one, and I think we can all
Oh,
agree
we're
with
not
that.
gonna fight.
But
I think
Michael brings up a good point here, guys. On the Facebook page, especially the Canal Zone reunion page, but certainly most Zonians that are down there, that's the beauty of social media and phones today. You instantly broadcast to the world, and the pictures and videos that are coming out are so cool. The train ride, the canal transit, uh, the amount of people at Napoli's, that must have been really, really cool to have Napoli's full of a bunch of Zonians and Americans just having a great time. It was yeah, really, really good to see. Keep posting them if you guys are down there in Panama right now. Send them up. We're gonna later on here tonight we'll start showing a couple of them on here and start sharing a couple of them. But I'm just really pumped for next year now, man. Of course, I'm not in a hurry for it, but I'm excited to go down there and see what we get to do because these guys, the Canal Zone reunion, Alex Reyes and company put on a great show, and I am going to put all the names up of the people that are doing this because Alex gets a lot of credit for this, but as you can see, he's certainly not working
Oh,
alone.
yeah. 2 weeks ago, he was adamant to mention
Yeah.
everybody.
So he sent
So
me a
yes,
list
well, that's
of
definitely
all the names of the people. So we're definitely gonna put them up here so that everybody can acknowledge them. And if they're friends or acquaintances of yours, reach out to them and say, hey, job well done, man, because they really have put on a fantastic job. So, but anyway, yeah, go ahead, Ricky, do your thing, Papa, or finish up your bochinche.
Continue. Yes, 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 guys. We got a couple golf tournament. I think the golf tournament is actually today or tomorrow at the reunion. The Ramon Reyes golf tournament. So we got that one to talk about next week, and also to remind you guys, right after the reunion is the Coronado golf tournament,
Yeah.
hosted by David Bishop. So we're gonna have a couple of Zonian golf tournament. All you guys are gonna be participating. Please reach out to us. Let us know how it went. If you can send us some scores, we would appreciate that so we can talk about it.
Yeah, some of them Zonians are practicing this weekend, just so you know, on Sunday. Rumor has it that they're going to be at Babes Zaharias in Tampa at 10 a.m. tea time. That's what I hear. I don't know. And I may be
Yeah,
there
yeah.
too.
You
I don't
guys
know.
in
That's what I
Tampa,
hear.
yeah. You guys are always playing. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
we're a couple of us are golfing on Sunday.
Cool, cool. There's a little update on the University of Fuller's effort to digitize our historical treasures. They're doing a let me turn that off, Willie.
Hmm.
They're doing a fundraiser to come up with some money to, and I think they've already got the money actually in the fundraiser to hire an employee for 2 years.
You're still getting that feedback. Is it your phone or your TV or something? Or
I don't know. Maybe my phone. Let me turn off my phone.
yeah, there it is. Because you put your phone close to the mic, it went up. So it was definitely your phone.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Just put that way over there. Sorry, guys.
No, you're good.
So they're having this fundraiser to hire somebody to digitize all our treasures, and let me turn this off. I apologize, everybody.
We are pros, guys. We are professionals here.
Yeah, we're shucks.
It's in our contract. We're only allowed to do this one
And
time
you
a
know,
month, and then
it
we're good.
happened last week too. It just pops in. Also, the volume comes out of nowhere, and boom, So
That's
that
probably an
happened the same
iPhone.
thing
That's
last
why.
week. An iPhone and then my TV.
There you
For some
go.
reason,
See,
they both at
you
the
got to go
same time
Android,
went on.
man. Yeah, those iPhones are
Yeah,
garbage.
yeah, yeah. Well, I do live in an old building now. So, well, anyway, so this fundraiser that they have done, it's been a great job, and they're trying to hire somebody, Willie, so that they can just continue digitizing. And
Very
this
nice.
is where, if you want to volunteer, we had one of our former guests, Paul and Patty Myers,
Yep.
are leading that. So if you want to help digitize, reach out to Paul and Patty Myers. Willie put up the where to find it. It's the museum collection. So they're doing a great fundraising. You guys want to help either with money or throwing in your time. You're doing it to digitize our historical treasures. So that's a little update from them on the Canal reunion. Now, Willie, to wrap it up, so we can get into what we really like, our
Right.
our, our political segment is going through the Canal record, which was a very good one, by the way. This last one, I don't know if you guys have
Sure
had a
was.
chance to look at it, but there's two new ads that I want to bring up, and of course, give them some love. But one that I caught my attention: Trader Brock, and what he does is he sells symbols of Christian Jewish unity. Like the
Okay.
Star of David with the cross,
Yeah.
and he
Okay.
does a lot of pendants and necklaces. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. And the Canal Zone community is definitely somebody that would understand that,
Sure.
that Jewish Christian
Certainly.
love, and which goes back to who we are as Zonians. We're all about brotherhood.
Yep. Certainly.
Like the Christian Jewish, Panama, United States. U.S. Panama, U.S. U.S. This brotherhood has always existed with us.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
and then the people out there that consider us the opposite of that, I'm just gonna say, God, get with it already and start reading.
Yeah. For
And the
sure.
second one,
Kidding.
that caught my attention, guys, everybody out there listening to this, especially if you love Panamanian coffee, they're called Badu Highland Coffee. Sorry. This is the company, BaduHighlandCoffee.com.
Okay.
Badu, remember the Badu,
Yeah.
the Badu, yeah, HighlandCoffee.com. If you buy more than $75, free shipping, but 100% imported Panamanian coffee delivered right to you guys. So if
Okay.
you
Right
want
on.
Cafe Durang or any of the other coffees that they sell down there, BaduHighlandCoffee.com, and they have an ad on the Canal record. So those are the two new sponsors they got, and I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. Both
Yeah.
of
Good for
them.
them.
Let's give them a little love
Yeah. For
here in the
sure.
Canal Zone happy hour,
Right
our
on.
Zonian show.
Yeah.
And so that'll bring us right to birthdays, guys.
Hell yeah.
You know what?
Absolutely.
So when Willie and I have a lot of politics to talk about, our Bochista segment is real short.
We shrink it, man. We're like rushing through. I mean, heck, I couldn't even get my Pan Canal Society spiel out of the way. And he's like, forget about that crap, man. Let's
Let's
talk
go, Willie, man.
politics.
We gotta roll. We gotta roll. Come on, Willie. Don't fall in that trap, that rabbit hole.
Well, he is a
We
royal,
gotta
so
see.
you guys got to understand. He is a royal.
Yeah, yeah.
It
Well,
resonates with him.
but you know what, Willie? It's because, man, we've been informing our viewers correctly. We've been leading you guys not in the right path, because I don't think that's what I really mean. I mean, we've been giving you information that has
That's
been able to help you guys see what's happening, because everything that we've fed you guys is kind of like the result of what's happening today.
really
So
is.
our analysis are based on us doing a lot of research, talking to a lot of people. Willie and I started a think tank where we have only 10 right now, very, very intelligent people that feed us information, and we actually talk about it throughout the week. So guys, it's not coming out of nowhere. I mean, this is information that comes from a bunch of people that feed us
Well,
facts.
and the difference with this and what a lot of times in these types of situations, and it's not. I mean, certainly Ricky and I are not gonna. We're not going to pretend that we're political pundits and that we're pros at this. But the one thing that we do have going for us, and that I say us and everybody in the Zonian community, is that we understand the culture down there. We understand a lot of what went on, that that heck, even the best experts in the world have no idea what really transpired, and there's a lot of different stories there. If you lived in Panama, you understand how Panama politics has always worked since day one. And if you understand China, you understand how their politics and their world way of doing business works. And so that's why there's a lot of this concern here, and some of it is unfounded. Yeah, obviously we know the history of the Canal Zone better than anybody. So
Yeah,
when the
we know the
president talks
rhetoric. Yeah,
about
we can read right through the
38,000
rhetoric.
dead, we can certainly go, wait, that we know that 38,000 Americans did not die building the canal, whether it was under the French or the American one, right? The vast majority of the people that worked on the canal were from the Caribbean, and those are the ones that died.
Yeah, that's
But
probably the entirety of from 1540 when they started crossing till
100%.
you know,
But nonetheless,
yeah, like everybody in that
it
time.
doesn't take away from the fact that there was a sacrifice of 38,000 people to build this canal, one way or the other.
Yeah,
So,
if
but
it wasn't that number, it felt like that number.
oh, it was pretty close to that number. I mean, the French alone
Yeah,
was in the high 20s,
22. Yeah, 22.
and
It
a
was
little,
22. Well, according
and
to David, it was 22.
so, and it's
Well,
but nonetheless, there was a lot of people that sacrificed and died to build the canal. There's a lot of opinions, one way or the other. I think it's a safe bet to say that the majority of our peers here and our audience probably lines up pretty similarly, because we all have a love for the canal and the Canal Zone. And I know a lot of people, when they heard that, like I said, when this news first broke, um, I was getting tons of messages, and I mean, people just to the point of, hey, we're going back, and I'm getting my house here and I'm getting my house there back again. And
oh, I know.
and that's kind of fun. You do it in almost in jest, right? I don't think anybody really called a travel agent. I don't think anybody called a realtor and put their house up for sale, ready for the move back to the Canal Zone, right? And
Even though people have asked me, are we moving back? But anyway, let's get
well,
to
I
the
can't. I know that
birthdays
if I move back,
before
I'm
we
not going to
get
move
into
back to
it.
Amador Road, because my house in Amador
Well,
Road's gone. There's a
yeah,
highway there, so that's not going to happen.
yeah, yeah, it's
But
not gonna happen, guys.
but nonetheless,
We
we'll get
got
to
some,
that here in just a
yeah,
bit. You know.
we've got some birthdays, and we have actually the longest list of birthdays so far. So we want to start off with what I like to say our number one Canal Zone family, because they actually came here to build the railroad. Dave Smith, happy birthday to you, David. You're a good man, and I appreciate everything you do for the zone. He does these walking videos on YouTube that are pretty cool of like
Hmm.
different towns in the Canal Zone when he's down there in Panama, and he
Yeah.
hangs out with Alex Reyes a lot. Senia Thorman, happy birthday to you, girl. Grace Vogel, People Lawrence, class of '85. His dad was Mr. Lawrence, who was Canal Zone police.
Yes.
I don't. He was police or yeah, okay, yeah, he was police.
Mhm.
Yes. Artist Bao, happy birthday. The beautiful and lovely Marty Bell Corrigan, happy birthday to you. She's married to John Corrigan, one of my best friends of all time. He lived right next door to me. Yvonne Lore, who runs that resort, Willie, that you were talking about there in
Yeah,
Kobe
over off
Beach.
by Kobe Beach. Yeah, class of '84 had a great time. She's a class of '84 graduate, and her younger sister Alice is my class of '86 classmate. And yeah, that's cool. So happy birthday, Yvonne.
Yeah. Happy birthday, man. And our class of '81. Carlos Campana. So all you guys in Diallo remember the Campana girls. Speaking of beautiful girls, well, Carlos was the brother. His birthday is actually in a couple of days. Happy birthday, Carlos. From class of '81, Isabela Fernandez, beautiful, beautiful girl. Raul Haynes, that we all know, an incredible athlete.
Yes.
Happy birthday to him. He's on the 27th. Blake Sperlin, an artist in the class of '81 as well. And very good Kiwani football player, by the way. Reynard Tejeda, happy birthday to him. Becky Ramsey, big name in the Canal Zone, happy birthday. Vanessa Riviero, airline pilot, happy
And she's a
birthday,
747
Vanessa.
pilot.
747,
Very cool.
41569. No, just
Yeah, she started out as a flight attendant and then took flying lessons and started flying for a couple airlines.
yeah,
And now she
yeah,
flies
yeah.
for I think it's Atlas Cargo, but she posts pictures flying all over.
Big
It was so
planes. Yeah,
cool, man.
yeah.
Yeah,
Pretty
747.
girl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Robin, one of our French Zonians, Robin Therault. Did I say that
Therault.
right?
Yeah.
Therault. married to Mark Thorold.
Yes, correct. Mark the Ralt
Yeah,
Zonian.
it's almost every week we have a couple of French. It's amazing how many French names in the Canal community.
They stuck around, some of
The
them.
big Larry Cicero. We always want to say happy birthday to
Yes.
him. Right on, Larry. We love you very much.
Hey,
Cynthia
speaking of
Alderman.
Cicero, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but
No problem.
Larry Cicero's brother Mark
Mike.
recently put out a song. He created a song about the Canal Zone, and it is amazing. He posted it on Facebook. He did it with some AI and stuff, but what a great song! It's got a fantastic tune.
Gotta see
It's
it.
got a bit of a Carlos Santana riff to it a little bit. It's got a little bit of salsa to it. Really, really well done. I'm actually working on a video for him to play with the song. So as soon as that's done, I'll send it to him. He'll sign off on it. And we'll play it for you guys. But great, great
Maybe
song.
yeah, maybe
Yeah,
we'll break it. Break it
yeah,
to the
yeah, yeah,
world
yeah.
in our show.
Really, really well done.
Eugene Peepo Johnson.
Mhm.
Happy birthday to him. He's a Canal Zone Police.
Yep, yep.
Gut Crouch. I
There
love
you
that
go.
name, man. Happy birthday, Gut.
Right on.
Mark Nelson, good friend of mine. Happy birthday to Mark. Another great, great friend of mine. Dwight Dunn, class of 82, Balboa kid. Hung out with him my whole entire life. Julio Garcia, may you rest in peace, Julio. A
Yep.
lot of
Happy
people
birthday up
love
in
you.
heaven.
Happy
Mhm.
birthday to you, Mr. Julio. Mark Fanning, one of my little brother's best friends.
Yep.
Happy birthday. He's got a beautiful sister.
Mhm.
Henry Joseph, Cristobal High School. What a great kid, man. I love him. Remember, we had him on, Willie, class of
Yeah, remember we
89.
were all drinking every time we talked about the British, we'd have to drink with him on there, remember?
Yeah, a drink because he loved his British
Yeah,
Panamanian blood. Happy
yeah,
birthday, Henry, man. I hope you're watching the show. You're a good guy, man. You
yeah,
represent Cristobal quite well. Love to have you
yeah.
back on.
Lot of
The
fun.
beautiful Lisa Hunt, the beautiful Allison Huff. So many beautiful Zonian girls. That's one
Yes.
thing. The Zonian boys were lucky, man. We had the absolute most beautiful girls in the world. Cleveland Soper.
Mm.
That's the father of Mike and Karen Soper out of
Yes,
Diablo.
correct.
And Willie, last but not least,
Patty Ravello, class of '85.
oh,
She's down there in Panama right now. Beautiful
speaking
girl.
of beautiful,
Great
my
friend. She's
goodness.
a great Zonian. Happy birthday to you, Patty, and to all you Zonians out there. And then, of course, like I always say, we don't always get everybody. We get the ones that we can on our list. But for everybody else, if we didn't mention you, happy birthday to you guys as well. And we always celebrate you with our nice little happy birthday, Murga. There you go, man. Happy birthday to everybody. That's so cool to celebrate that. It's always nice to acknowledge
Yeah, I like
people.
that part of our show,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Yeah, keeps us humble.
Yeah, well, and I always get messages. Hey, thanks for mentioning my birthday. That was really cool. I was like, of course, man. That's what the Zonian community is. This is what the Zonian community is about. Is that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, the song is great. It's a great tune. The Bochinche song. I'm not sure which one you're referring to, but they're both for sure. They're both good tunes. You're all kids. Well,
The
I definitely
birthday one,
think
I
I'm a
like the.
kid,
I mean,
man.
you're right. They're both really good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Michael, what are you saying here? Reminder, peeps, share all Facebook, etc. postings to get the word out about the PCS and this Friday night special. Yeah, right on. Absolutely. Yeah. And share. And guys, remember on the YouTube channel, SCN Canal Zone, please subscribe and share. Hit the notifications as well so that you're reminded. But if just in case, easy to remember, Friday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern time is when we're on the air. But share it. We want more people subscribing because then YouTube will start spreading the algorithm and get more Zonians. And we get a lot of people that come on every so often that are non-Zonians, and they're just like, "Hey, I came across this on YouTube, and it was really cool." They're learning about Panama and the Canal Zone through the show as well. So please share it, so we can continue to grow the audience and share this awesome legacy and story that we all were
Yeah,
part of.
that's amazing. Right. It's amazing how important that subscribe and like is
Hmm.
to the whole YouTube world. I mean, guys, it sounds
Yeah.
ridiculous, but it's truly the bottom line of being on YouTube. You gotta have those two things. Otherwise, no one's gonna see the video.
No, it's funny, and that's the one thing that Ricky and I still we don't really do it as vigorously as probably you should, because I mean, if you ever watch anybody that posts regular streams regularly on YouTube, they always, and don't forget like and share and the bells and all that good stuff. And the first few times we say it, we'd almost kind of giggle, like you feel silly doing it, but we're trying to grow an audience, and so that's what they say is the method. So like and
That's the method,
subscribe and
right? You
hit
want
the
to get
bell and
all you
notify yourself, I
Zonians.
guess, right?
Yep,
But
yep.
there you go. Mozart, I'm not a Zonian, but I love your show. Absolutely cool. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. That's we hope that we can turn a lot of people on to what life was like for us Americans growing down in Panama, in a foreign country, and having I mean, it was a great life, honestly. A lot of people will say that we were spoiled. My wife will certainly say we were spoiled. But it, it was just really
No,
special.
it's it,
It was really, really
yeah.
special.
It's, Willie, I think that they don't have another word to use, so they only
Yeah.
use spoiled. Because it has a component of love for what we do, love for the land we live in, love for the environment. I mean, there's so much that goes
And
on
love
to
for the
that.
country that's still there.
Correct. And the understanding that the Canal Zone was built around making the town comfortable for its workers so that they don't leave, so that they continue to
Correct.
stay there and provide the most. So, you have to understand those components to our so-called spoiled life, but it wasn't. It
Yeah,
was just the way the system was set up so that
it
that
was.
canal would work as efficiently as it always has.
Yeah, and remember, Dave, when we started the early Canal Zone history, the construction history, that was something that early on in the Canal Zone became a focus or a priority, was to provide facilities for the families living there, for your exact point. When we're living there in the 70s, much different than in 1909 and 1910, 1915, where it was still a little bit of rough going for some people. So you wanted to keep these families happy, where the canal required these guys to be working down there, and they didn't need to come home to a family that's like, let's go back to the United States. This place sucks. So they made a
Correct.
point of building facilities and providing entertainment so that you felt as close to America as you could, while providing a service to help build and support the canal. So
And
yeah, you're right.
operate.
You're right, Ricky. It may have been spoiled, but it was the necessity of convincing somebody to leave the comfort of the United States and go down to Panama to work. So lucky us, I
But
guess,
it,
is
it,
all I
it
can
does feel
say, man.
good
I
to be
mean,
called. Yeah,
yeah,
it does
good to be
feel
a
good
Zonian,
to be
right?
called the community, the most spoiled community in the world. Well, thank you very much. Thank
Somebody
you.
had to take the gig. I'm glad my
Yeah,
dad got
yeah, yeah.
stationed in
Right.
Panama, so it worked out well. Uh,
I don't know. Maybe it is a good thing to keep that spoiled, even though sometimes I'm thinking, oh man, it's just because you don't have another word to use, so you're calling us spoiled. But no, we're not. But
no,
I guess we are.
all in the eyes of everybody has a different perception, I guess. So,
Yeah.
nonetheless, yeah, three-quarters
But
of
why
U.S. workers
what
left in the
why
first
wouldn't
year.
we want this for all of Panama? That's what I'm saying. Why wouldn't we
Yeah,
want that life that we know that you can have in Panama, in the Canal Zone, etc. Why wouldn't we want that for the entire nation? That's why I always tell my family, man,
and I mean, for all intents and purposes, Hawaii is thousands of miles away from the mainland. So it doesn't have to be connected per se the,
hmm
to work out, just for what it's worth. I mean, the canal Zone was for 100 years almost was a very successful U.S. territory. Probably, I would argue, of all the U.S. territories, the most Americanized, the most like the United States, with our Fourth of July parades and our street lights and our everything that we did there was very Americanized, and yet, you know,
Look,
it did
she
quite
makes
well
a
in a
good
foreign
point.
country.
CC Access makes a very good point. Three-quarters of U.S. workers. See, that's the point. If you didn't provide that comfort and that entertainment, poof, look at they just leave. Three
And
quarters
that's what
left
happened.
the first
Absolutely.
year. And
And
so
that's why
that's
they did
why
those
they had to
things.
do that. That's why they
Yep.
had to do those things. Correct.
They realized that they had to make this a lot more enticing for these people to stay down here.
For the people to stay down there. Correct. So
Yeah.
anything that rocked the boat, look at that. Three-quarters of the U.S. workers left the
Now,
first
in
year.
all honesty, the workers in the canal, I mean, certainly I would guesstimate 70, 80%, if not more, of the workers of the canal were not US. So, when you look at three-quarters of them leaving, that could be three-quarters of 200 people versus, the other 2 or 3 thousand people that are doing the actual work there from the Caribbean and other countries. I actually read something interesting today that Rosanna Price sent me about Indian workers, and a story in particular of one guy, from some Punjab area. That was his name, but his story of coming down, working the canal at 23 years old in 1904, and eventually when the
Oh, the
canal was
Chiva
done,
guy, right? The Chiva guy, the
he
guy
ended
from
up
the
going to the
Chiva bus.
railroads. No, no, this was a different one. This guy went into the railroad. But when the canal was done, that was he got a job with the road. He ended up moving up and got a job as chief watchman on the railroad, um, and even retired with a pension from the Canal Zone until he passed away in '68. But we always think of the Caribbean and Barbados and Jamaica and these places coming here, and then of course some Panamanians, some Spaniards as well. Um, but there was a lot of Indians as well that came and worked here, and like Ricky said, that other story of the ones that came in and started the bus services and stuff. So it is definitely
That
an
was
eclectic
Alex.
place.
Alex is the one that told us that story. Remember Alex?
Yeah,
Alex a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
that's right. He sure did. He sure did. And so
That's how the word
Panama.
Chiva came out of. That's how we
Yes,
got the word
correct.
Chiva,
Correct. That word was from India, from their culture
the
and their
little
language.
god. Yeah.
You know, but it just shows that Panama was the crossroads of the world for 400 years before the United States came in and decided to build a canal. Even from the time from Spain, it was a crossroads then. Now, once the canal was built, it obviously amplified that, but it's always been the case, and no surprise that even with all these immigration stuff going on in the last few years here in the United States, that the focal point in Latin America was where Panama and the Darien Jungle, not Mexico, not South America. It was Panama and the Darien Jungle because it's
92% less people crossed.
yeah. Because you think about it, we always look at the canal as that funnel to the world, right? You see all the maps with all the lines from the shipping lanes coming there, but everything coming up South America, it all has to go to one point right there, and that's the Darien Gap.
Darien
So
Gap, yeah.
Panama's always it's such
92%
a
less.
yeah, yeah, pretty good
Wow.
stuff there for sure,
They
man.
they
So
just closed that place.
yep, Barbadians made up 70. Yeah, they sure did. They sure did. And we learned that the Jamaicans didn't because the Jamaicans were doing it during the French building.
French.
And when the French collapsed, they literally ran out of money. They had no way to send these people back. And so the Jamaican government had to pay for ships and stuff to go and pick their people up. So when the US came in and came knocking on the door, Jamaica's like, I don't think so, man.
Been there.
If
Yeah.
you want to do it, you got to pay a bond for each one of these people so that their return voyage is already paid for before everything happens. So if you run out of money, our people get a ride home. And so
Right,
the
right,
US said,
right.
well, the hell with that. We're going to go to Barbados, man. There's a lot of poverty there. They need some jobs. We'll bring those guys over. And so nonetheless, but it was the Caribbean was the bulk of the workforce, certainly was from there. So uh, not only just paid tuition and attend duty schools, that's because they were not saying yes, absolutely. Well, the Lores, we were talking about Yvonne Lore. Happy birthday to her. Their family was they're Swiss. They're from Switzerland, living in Panama for many years, and they went to the Canal Zone school. So yeah, absolutely, there was
And the
quite a few.
Swedish girls that I grew up with,
And the same thing with St.
what was
Mary's.
her
There was a
name?
lot of went there as well because of, that.
Charlotte Sanquist. That was
Oh,
the
right
one that.
on.
Oh my
There you
God,
go.
what a beautiful girl, man! Charlotte Sanquist. Yeah, we had a bunch. My dad was a Panamanian that went to Balboa High School, and paid the tuition and got in. That's why my dad went there.
Yep, exactly, exactly. A lot of them did. We had a lot of Panamanian classmates that were paying tuition out of pocket to send their
Yeah,
kids there.
the
You know.
vice president of Panama, Ford,
Hmm.
Guillermo Ford.
Yes.
He also went
Yep.
to Balboa High School.
Yep. Yep. And his nephew Scott Ford is a friend of mine. And Tom Ford. They all of them went there. Yeah. Yeah.
All the
Secretary of
Fords
State
went to
Rubio's
Balboa High
going to Panama. Absolutely. They're next week. Big trip down there for all of those guys. I have multiple letters from my great grandfather who was in Panama during the construction days, and he went down with his father. The letters date back. Wow, that's so awesome! Isn't that crazy that you go back that far? That's what I often think of families like Dodd's family and Dahlstrom's, that you have 3, 4, and 5 generations of family down there. When the Canal Zone ended, and you're like, okay, you guys are going back home, these folks are like, well, this is home. This is mom and dad's home. This is grandparents' home, great grandparents' home. What do you mean to go back home? I am home. My whole family was born down here, so that's kind of bizarre. I mean, for me, it was my dad got stationed down there, but for these guys, gosh, that's a trip, man, to have that, even for home leave. Where'd you go for home leave if everybody was here, right? But I guess Uncle Sam sent you somewhere. Allie would have gone just to the furthest
Yeah,
place.
I think they had to check off a box, of where the
Right. Just pick something then, Where do you guys want to go to vacation then? That's what you're gonna get. That's your home leave trip, man. But yeah, very, very good stuff there. You know what, Michael? It used to be impassable. Yes, that's right. I always assumed that the Darien Gap was impassable. And then all of a sudden, this immigration stuff, and I mean,
Yeah,
they're
the Venezuelans
daring,
hold
man.
my beer, man.
Yeah, they're like, they say, "What? This is good, man. A little money,
This
but
is
we're good."
nothing, Oh my
Yeah,
god.
so I don't know if somebody was lying or all, like you said, these people were like, "The hell with it, dude. I'm gonna get through there." But they made it just
But
like a little path.
93% block. So wow, good job, Panama. And they're doing that with the U.S. So Panama and the United States have a lot of other brotherhood things going on that
Yeah, for
they
sure.
do together. It's not just the canal. They've got a
No,
lot
no,
of
no.
other
They, gosh, I mean, listen, it is a brotherhood. It is a kinship that started from day one. The
Cristobal High
the
School.
Canal Zone and Panama were born at the same time, literally days apart, right? So yeah, absolutely. Paul,
Ooh, was
welcome.
it 2
Enjoy the show.
days, 3 days?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. Exactly. There was no Canal Zone and there was no Republic of Panama. And then all of a sudden, fast forward, you went to bed, went home Thursday, hang out the weekend, had a good time, and Monday you go in, you're like, well, oh, this is Panama. Oh, this is Canal Zone. Where the hell did this come from? Literally, they were both born in just a matter of days, so they've had a kinship from pretty much day one, man. So,
Yeah, we have a
um,
Cristobal High School student with us,
class
class
of
of
'75.
75.
Paul, are you here in the
Right.
states or are you in Panama? There's a class of '75, although it's BHS, but I would imagine maybe CHS might be doing something as well. But either way, welcome. Glad to have you on the show. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and all the other previous episodes are there. Which, by the way, Ricky, you may want to help me out this weekend. Um, I was talking to Thane Wheeler from the Canal Zone documentary. He reached out and he goes, "Hey man, I was looking at your YouTube channel and all your YouTube videos have the exact same thumbnail and title." He goes, "We need to change that." And I'd been looking at it. I got some audio books on how to grow YouTube channels, and that's one thing they say. You really got to focus on the thumbnail because think about it, guys. When you get on YouTube to watch videos, you scroll through that stuff, and what gets your attention? It's the image that comes up. And all of a sudden, if it's compelling, if it's got Trump and a canal in the background, you're like, oh, let me click that. So
Correct. That's
so
true.
we gotta work to fix that and improve that. So thank you, Thane. We'll definitely get to work on that and try and improve that. See if we can't get more people on. But glad you're joining us there, Paul. Enjoy the show and go on YouTube there and check out
Hey,
some
we're gonna have
previous
a
shows.
class of 75. Remember, Willie?
Yes,
We're
we
gonna have a
are.
class of 75.
Which
So maybe he can come on and
good
be a
point.
part of
Yeah,
that.
good point, Ricky. Absolutely. Yeah. Listen, Paul, we're working with the class of '75 BHS. We do some shows periodically called Back to BHS, and we can do it back to CHS as well. And what we do is we get a couple of folks from a class that's having a reunion and we try and do a couple of episodes if we can throughout the year that kind of follow that senior year in school, what was going on in the spillway, what was the music at the time, the movies, the fashion and things going on in school. We look at the yearbooks and all that. It's just a really fun way to follow a class through their senior year all the way through to graduation. So we are trying to get more Atlantic side content. So Paul, if that's something you want to help out or know somebody at the CHS level that could help us out, by all means, reach out to us. We'd love to have it happen. So again, thank you for joining us. And you live in Maryland. Okay, cool. Well, we'll enjoy the show up in Maryland and stay warm up there. Like us here in frozen Florida the
Oh
last
man,
couple.
you guys got snow this
We
week.
did, man. And you know what? The few times that I've ever seen snow in Florida, it's a dusting, right? It's just a little, very light dust. You still see everything below it, but this was the real deal, man. It was 5, 6 inches more, I mean, it was completely covering the entire region, Tallahassee, Pensacola, and all that. Really, really cool, man. It was, different for us Floridians, man. But
Yeah, I saw
nonetheless,
all the fun that we're having with it. So it looks
yeah,
pretty cool.
absolutely. B-74, but left before graduation. That's right. You're still a BHS 74 guy, David. So Michael for sure, man. But yeah, they're having a good time down there. In fact, this is probably a good time to switch gears real quick and show you some reunion stuff going on real quick, and then we'll catch a quick break. And then when we come back, we are definitely going to talk about this Panama Canal Trump stuff and what's going on. How heat up 5 degrees yesterday. Oh yeah, you can have that up there. Keep that up there if you don't mind. But perhaps I can reach out to. Yes, yeah, please do. Please do. We'd love to have them on. And again, we are trying to grow our Atlantic side audience. We have a lot of Pacific siders, but there's a lot of Atlantic siders that still tune in. And Ricky always gives them a hard time. I try and give them a lot
Oh,
of props and
not
stuff,
true.
but you
The
know,
other way around.
yeah, I know I like to beat up on the Atlantic siders. It's just fun. That was always a fun rivalry, but it's all in jest, of course. I
They
I love
also
the
had
Atlantic
cute
side.
girls over there.
Yeah, it was. Listen, they did, man. They had It's just one of those things, you know. They're the rival, man. So you beat them up when you can. It's always part of the fun there. But nonetheless, let's pull up some stuff here. I want to show you guys. And let me switch over and pull up the Facebook page here because I just wanted to show you guys some of the stuff that's going on in the Canal Zone reunion. And if you're class of '86 or class of '81 for next year, maybe this will give you some ideas on
What
things
happens?
that yeah, and what we can start planning for because they got a lot of really good stuff there. But let me go ahead and share that screen. Bear with me here. Where is it? There we go. Okay. Take the chat off the screen and pow. Okay, so what do we got here? That's quite the little buffet. This is actually on the boat during the canal transit. Is what that is. This is looks like the fishing
The
tournament they
fishing
had in.
tournament.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. Very cool stuff. A lot of just different stuff. Here, look, there's Frank Alberga. Right on. Look at you. Ah, it's like Jaws there. Hey, look at Danny Reyes.
Alex.
That's
Danny
Danny.
Reyes. Danny, not Alex.
Yes, yes, that's
That's
Danny
Danny and
Reyes.
Danny, right? Yeah.
That looks like it's probably just before Pedro Miguel locks, from the looks of it, with the bridge in the
Yeah.
background. So yeah, right
And the
on. Look
big
at
boat
that.
coming through.
All right, here we go. There's another fish there. Quite the catch there. Almost have to hold that with two hands. All right, look at that.
Oh,
Oh
that
yeah.
one looks big.
Yeah, it does. That might be the winner there. Make sure they're not putting any weight. Did you see that fishing competition? I think it was in Cleveland or something last year, where and the winners, and it was like $15,000 or $20,000 was the prize. And they found out that they took lead weights and they were stuffing them inside the fish, and they weighed it. It was the heaviest fish. They got caught too, man. I think they ended up going to jail
Oh
for
my
it because it
God,
was fraud.
cheaters.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So, all right, look at these guys. Right on. Okay, what do we got there? 2 bass, 3 bass. Okay. Well, cool. So that was the fishing tournament there. There they are heading out to the fishing tournament. That's them heading out to the fishing tournament in the morning. This is probably people arriving there. One of the menus there. Damn.
Oh, at Mama Austin Mamas.
Austin Mamas. Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
The
we talk
Panama
about those guys
Railroad
here.
experience was really cool. I did see several. Somebody posted a video. Let me see if I can find it here. This is the Canal Transit. This is leaving Amador. Okay, this is leaving the yacht club. Like, yeah, they're playing bumper boats here with another boat. Lord have mercy. I guess that's in the channel there with another ship in front of them. Yeah, this is on the boat. This is the Canal Transit. These are some of the class. These are some of the class, I think, of '89, if I'm not mistaken. There's your sister. Look at
Yeah, that's my
that.
little
What a cool
sister.
picture.
Right
Right
on.
on. Very good. I've never been in the locks. You know that? Never in my life.
Well, if you had paddled.
I know. I just don't want to do. I was too damn lazy for that. Although I did have a member. I did take a really cool picture with the Los Angeles Rams cheerleaders in front of Miraflores Locks, right in front of that area
That
there.
counts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. My dad came and took me out of school to go do that. I was like, right on, Dad. Thanks. That was cool. But yeah, look, there's Ronaldo. Right on. Look at you, man. The
Hey.
Royals are representing. There you go.
Yeah, they're both down there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that looks like they're having a really, really good time. There's Michelle Duncan. Hey, Michelle. Good to see you. Look at that sunrise. That's early. They left at what, 6 o'clock in the morning, I think, or they had to be at
That's
the.
right. 6 a.m.
Yeah, look at that. But that's beautiful. What a beautiful sunrise that is, huh? You know, that's the other cool thing about the zone, right? Or Panama. The sun rises in some places in Panama on the Pacific side before it does on the Atlantic side. And that's always one of those fun little trivias there that we have from
Right,
Panama.
right. It's like backwards. It comes
Yeah.
up in the west and sets in the east or something
Yeah.
like that at a certain time.
So yeah, look at that though. What a great time. There's that beautiful bridge. Gosh, I hope we still have that view next year, man. I hope they slow down on that other bridge. There you go, ladies. Look at you. All right. Woo. Yeah, so good times been had, guys. And this is just the canal transit trip here. But you know, a lot. Okay, that's the organizing group there. That's the staff there. And I'm gonna put something else up here in just a moment because we definitely have to acknowledge these guys. The amount of work that they have obviously put in is amazing because this is such a really, really well done reunion. And let me see if I can pull up some other stuff here. Let me see what they have here. Let's go to media. Okay. Canal Zone's photos. Okay, there's some there. Okay, I haven't seen the ones, and some other people have posted them. We'll get them up, and actually next week we'll have time to really digest all the photos and put together a nice little collage to show next week. But a lot of great pictures of Napoli's Elks Club last night. It seemed like it was a blast. A lot of people there having a great time. And they're just wrapping up the Chiva Parrandera right now. We were hoping somebody would chime in, but you know, I guess if I agree to do it too, and I'm down there partying, I might be like, well, not now, too bad. But
Well, remember the reunion, how difficult it was.
it's true. It's true. It's one of those things. It's always a great idea on paper, but to really pull it off, if you're having a good time partying and you're gonna ask somebody, hey, stop what you're doing and call into our show. Yeah, good luck with that. So, but nonetheless, they are having a great time down there, and we'll see more pictures of that stuff throughout throughout the time there. But anyhow, good stuff, guys. Congrats again to the people that put that on. Let me pull this up really fast here. Let me share this screen. Hold on.
The organizers, right?
Yes, because I do want to recognize them. They worked their butts off. They've done a fantastic job here, and they should get some acknowledgement because, like I said, Alex gets a lot of credit for this, but he himself will be the first to tell you that this is a job that a lot of people work on. It's not just Alex. So let's go ahead and acknowledge these guys. Roz Bytel taught at CHS classes of 85 through 95. Right on. Thank you. Robert Bell, BHS class of 87. Yvonne Cooper, class of 80. Alan Deco, class of 84, one of the founding fathers, according to Alex there. Eddie Dolan, another one, BHS of 84. Marjorie Egger, CHS 78. Captain Andrew Eftimitis, our own Panama Canal pilot, Captain Eftimitis, BHS class of 83. Chrissy Ford, class of 91. Lynn Harp, class of 80. Carlos Inchausti, hope I pronounced it correctly, class of 91. Edward Joyce, St. Mary's, class of 88, right on. St. Mary's representing. Cheryl Lowry, class of 76, BHS. Linda Mira, BHS 80. Xenia Morris, BHS 90. Stephanie Nellis, BHS 80. Pablo Prieto, BHS 69. Again, Alex Reyes, BHS 89. Reina Arroyo, BHS 89. Ricky, I think you know her. Ace Shan, AAHS 86. I'm not sure what that is, but right on. Tom Strider, BHS 71. HB Tui, BHS 94. Bill Walker, BHS 75. And Mikey Young, BHS 76. So, guys, thank you for all of you that have put in the time and effort. I think I can speak on behalf of everybody that's down there right now enjoying it. Thanks for giving these guys an awesome Canal Zone reunion down in Panama. And looking forward to working with you guys next year and getting it done right for us here for class of 86 and class of 81. So congrats, guys, and thank you for your hard work, guys, for sure. But anyhow, we're going to take a really fast break, and then when we come back, guys, we do have, of course, our Panama Canal Donald Trump conversation, because again, things are still heating up. They haven't quieted down at all. So we're going to put on a quick little video, take a fast break. We'll be right back. So go refill your beers, take the dogs for a walk, whatever you have to do. We'll be back in a couple of minutes to talk some Panama Canal and Donald Trump.
Deep within the jungles of Central America lies the Isthmus of Panama, a narrow strip of land connecting North and South America, as well as dividing the Atlantic and the Pacific Oceans. It is here, in Panama, that explorers dared to imagine the impossible, a path to join the world. King Charles of Spain commissioned a research expedition to survey a canal in the isthmus in 1567. He was searching for a way to shorten months of perilous sea travel around Cape Horn in South America. In the middle of the 1800s, Great Britain also surveyed the isthmus for a canal route and a shortcut to Asia. Finally, in 1881, the French diplomat and Suez Canal builder Ferdinand de Lesseps tried to replicate his efforts in Panama. But unlike the flat and soft sand in Egypt, the stifling jungles, rocky terrain and disease in Panama proved to be a much different and more challenging landscape. This challenge proved to be too much and resulted in failure. As the new century began, the United States took up the challenge of cutting through the continental divide. America was fast becoming a global power. Her new industrial might and ingenuity were about to be showcased to the world. Excavating the impossible, the building of the Panama Canal, is the story of dreams brought forth from failure, of innovative leaders and men who toiled and sacrificed to see two oceans united. It's a story of technology, of courage, and of unbreakable human spirit. This 5-part series will be the most comprehensive and detailed account of the building of the Panama Canal. We'll begin with a journey back 4 centuries to the Spanish Empire and their colonial aspirations, followed by British attempts in the 19th century, and finally culminating with the failed French attempt at the end of the 1800s. Part 2, we'll enter a new century and see the emergence of America and Teddy Roosevelt, with a bold and ambitious plan for a canal where others said it couldn't be done. We'll learn about the early plans, the logistics, the companies and people involved. In Part 3, we'll learn about early hurdles, poor decisions and setbacks that almost doomed the American endeavor. And we'll see how America changed direction and overcame the early stumbling blocks and turned failure into progress. Part 4 will cover the incredible project of surveying, excavating, damming and building of the world's most important waterway, all while engaged in a relentless fight against disease, weather and terrain. Finally, Part 5 reveals the steps in completing this strategic waterway and the first ships that crossed a fully operational Panama Canal, changing global trade forever. This is the most complete and researched authoring of the construction of the 8th wonder of the world. This is a comprehensive story behind one of the greatest engineering marvels in human history, excavating the impossible, the building of the Panama Canal.
All right. So yes, exciting. We're still a ways off on completing that, of course, but really excited for what we're gonna showcase there, especially with a lot of the new technology that's out there to recreate something, that's much more in depth on how that whole actual canal construction went. The actual planning of it, actually envisioning what, for example, one of those steam shovels did, in a couple of weeks. How far they were digging, where it started. You had land that was flat up here, and then somehow it ended up being a channel. How did all that go? To me, that's a fascinating thing to watch. I love those how it's made type shows and everything, and that's kind of what I envision with this. So excited for that, and excited for what we can showcase with that. But nonetheless, we're back now, and we do want to talk about the Panama Canal and what's going on. These statements about Donald Trump. Um, just to kind of recap and go back to where this all started on December 20th of last year, um, during a political rally, for lack of a better term, out in Arizona. Then President-elect Donald Trump said, among other things, that the deal, as he likes to call it, the treaty to give the canal back to Panama was a bad deal. We should never have done it. And since then, the United States has been mistreated by Panama, and he listed, certain things, high tariffs. He listed military not being given preferential treatment, things of that nature, and ultimately it culminated with him saying that we're going to take the canal back if this doesn't change. And that in itself, of course, kicked off a firestorm of conversations. We had probably two of our highest rated shows were the shows right after that, because a lot of people wanted to hear what was going on, and they had their opinions to share as well. And so that's where it stayed. Uh, of course, everybody said, well, let's wait and see what happens January 20th. That's a month away. And so in between then, of course, we certainly didn't expect the Panamanian president to just sit back idly and not say anything. So he obviously came back and pushed back and said, no, this is our canal. It was signed. There's a deal there, a treaty made, and that's what's going to happen. You guys are not going to come in here and take this canal back. And by the way, no, we're not doing those things. China's not operating the canal and whatnot. So that's where it's been for the last month, going back and forth. And then last week, January 20th, president is sworn in, and right in his first inaugural speech, the one item on the agenda that he seems to have given some emphasis was taking the canal back. And I mean, his words were point blank, we're going to take back the Panama Canal. So where is that at? We don't know. I have my opinions, but now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Ricky, and so he can kind of, I'm not going to monopolize this, especially because Ricky loves this stuff. So, he's
Oh well, no,
chomping at
no,
the
but
bit
you
here.
listen.
But
Willie and I have done so much research together, so it's really all it's our analysis. But Willie touched on a very good point, which he'll talk more later, is on the debt that Panama owns, and so that creates kind of a problem for you know for not a problem, but that's kind of how Trump sees it. It could be a problem. I'm not speaking for Trump, but logic says that if your country's heavily in debt to one country, that can bring difficulty later. So that's what I mean about that. But basically, guys, what has happened in this last week, and like I said, Willie and I follow this religiously, is there's four groups have been totally identified, right? Of the different points of view on what is happening in the canal.
kind of like
There's
four
one
different
group,
positions.
like four different positions, and that's it. There really hasn't been a fifth, guys. And if
Well,
there
there's not
is,
many
we
room for
really
one based
haven't.
on what Ricky's going to
Yeah,
say
there
here.
has
You'll see
really,
there's
yeah,
can't be.
right. It'll probably be like a subgroup. So the four groups that are the pro U.S. group, come back, which you see a lot of it, by the way. Come and take back the canal and administer it yourself because the canal doesn't do anything for us. So we'll call that the pro U.S. group.
Yeah.
And then the second group, God, I was really prepared for this. Oh, here we go. The second group is the group which is more aligned with what we say on this show. Is like, look, there is no problem. We're operating the canal quite efficiently, and we've had pilots tell us this, and et cetera. And they just say, let's just negotiate the way we've always negotiated. That's group number two. And my uncle's in that group, which just makes me very, very happy. Group number three is the patriotic group. Like, oh, it's our soberania, and we're
Yep.
gonna the last man, and we've been punked our whole lives by the U.S. and that group.
Yeah, they were
That's
colonizers, and
that's group number three, and then group number four is the pro-China group. Which amazing how many businessmen are in that group. That surprised me. Like the Rabi Blancos,
right.
Polinares is in that group, and I was like, wow, I couldn't believe that. But so those are the four groups that are being identified. So we're starting to see from each group their advertising and their what they're putting out there. And one of the things that one group seeks to put out a lot is that the ports are Hong Kong based. They're not really China based, which is fine. Uh, that argument starts correctly with that, but today, it's not true. They're not free to do as they please. They have to do something. Now, here's where that argument comes in. This is where Willie and I differ a little bit. The what the U.S. says is that those two ports can create havoc. Yes, they can. But what the specialists have been saying, and Group Two has been saying, is, look, you really can't turn these ports into a military base. For they have several reasons. One is they don't control any ships, so they're not telling some captain, well, maybe they could block the passage because they don't control any ships. All right. And then part of the second group also says Panama and the U.S. have a treaty that says they have to, have a security force that protects the canal. So if the ports did anything to interrupt the canal, they would get invaded immediately by, whatever security apparatus is there to protect the canal. So that kind of logically makes sense of why these ports cannot be converted into military use. But like I was telling Willie, there's absolutely nothing anybody in the world can do to convince the U.S. otherwise.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's there's a couple of other pieces that I'd like to add as context. And again, this is all purely speculation. None of us here work for the State Department. None of us work for the Panamanian government. None of us have ever done anything like this as far as being involved in this stuff. But some of us actually do enjoy learning and studying and following geopolitics and these kind of things. And so, there is a certain level of knowledge there that you don't necessarily have to have a certificate on the wall that tells you that you can have an opinion on some of this stuff. But you know, the argument about these ports uh, being being purchased, because you can't call it anything else, but being purchased by a Hong Kong company is, at face value, yes, those were Hong Kong companies, not
Face
Chinese
value,
companies.
right?
Okay. That being said, there's a 1998 DIA, which is a Defense Intelligence Agency. That's the military's equivalent to the CIA. They have a report they released in '98 talking about China's intent on getting their hands on the canal, was the verbiage they used, through this company, because the owner of this company had extremely strong ties to Beijing and to the government of China. And so it was something that in a lot of political circles and in a lot of intelligence circles was talked about. Um, if you go back to the 90s, and again, this is not intended at all to go into a political realm here, but in the 90s, one of the running jokes that started to come around in the United States was that you'd pick up an item and go, "Oh, look, made in China." And it started to become, "Oh my God, and everything's made in China now." Nowadays, we just take it for granted. That's, the sun rises on the east and sets on the west, and everything's made in China. But back then, it was something that was new. This was a time that China was starting to come out to the world, and at that time, there was a lot here in the United States. There was a lot of political controversy in the media with fundraising by the Clinton administration and Al Gore, and that they were very friendly to China. And at that time, then China made inroads into Panama when the U.S. pulled out, and there was no stopping them by anybody. Again, not a political discussion here. I'm just giving some historical context to the timing of when we got out of there. And I mean, it's like a game of musical chairs. As soon as one got up, the other one took the chair, right? So that's one angle that we have to give context to here as far as how those ports got started. The other angle is what Ricky just talked about here, this debt trap diplomacy. Okay, this is something that China has been doing for many years. It is something that is very well known, that they go to countries that have strategic assets that they could use or occupy, and they entice these countries with a lot of loans for infrastructure projects that they coincidentally are the ones doing the work on with their personnel. They're getting all the money up front, paid for to do these jobs, which is money that they're loaning these countries, and then they're going to get the loan money back as well. So they're really double dipping on that money to begin with. But the point is that in a lot of cases, Sri Lanka is one good example of this, where they've indebted the country to the point where they they know they can't pay it back. And when people are asking, well, why do they sign these deals to begin with? We talk about corruption, right? We can't ignore corruption. We know what corruption is like. And I mean, in 2024, I don't think there's a country in the world that doesn't have corruption anymore. There was a time when you used to look at it as a third world problem, but I think everybody's corrupt now. But the bottom line is, you give the leadership in these countries enough money, and they will agree to anything, okay, because it's not their problem anymore. And that's what's happened in these countries, and these people in a lot of cases have gone to jail because of it. But at that point, it's too late. The damage is done. The contracts are signed, the loans are taken, and in the case of Sri Lanka, in exchange for defaulting on the loans, they now had to lease China a port for 99 years. We weren't in the canal for 99 years. That's how long of an occupation that is. And they've done that in several places. Right now in Panama, China controls 40% of Panama's debt. Panama has a debt of close to $50 billion, and China controls close to 40% of that. And that's where that debt diplomacy and that debt trap becomes very dangerous, because just recently, Panama's credit rating was lowered again, right? And the
Mhm.
reason that stuff happens is because these organizations view your financial position, and if you're leveraged too far, they're going to say, "Hey, you're a credit risk." They lower it because they're going to tell other people, "Don't lend them money because they may not be able to pay it back." And that's the whole point here.
Now here's something on that, Willie. On
Yes.
the group four, the pro China group,
Yes.
they're saying that their borrowing got lowered because
Their
of what
credit
Trump
rating.
said. The credit
Yes,
rating got lower because of what Trump said. Total
correct.
bullshit.
It is.
Total bullshit. But that's what their angle is. That's the pro China
Which is
angle.
what Ricky's talking about here, guys. These four factions, okay? Because these are four positions that are trying to gain influence. And so these people that are
Correct.
pro China are saying, hey, this is all Trump. Trump's now caused you guys to lose a credit rating because of his words, which, again, you know, countries, including the United States. Remember, the United States was threatened with losing their credit rating or being lowered a few years ago because of their debt and I think it was the government default or whatever the case was. But it's nothing that's typically driven by something like a speech.
Correct.
And so
Right.
I think this is something that the timing, maybe it was accelerated because Trump's coming in. Maybe it made sense to release it now and give some
No,
perspective to
listen.
this argument. But
It's like this. Debt's too high. They closed the mine, so there's no money coming in there. The canal, took in less money because of the
sure, because of the
drought.
drought, yeah,
And the Caja de Seguro Social, they've got those big problems to
yeah.
settle first. But because those are so big, right? So they say it's Trump's fault that happened. So
Correct.
that's
And
on
that's
that.
that faction trying to get influence, when it comes to these negotiations, which are coming, fast and furious here. Just they're going to start next week because Marco
Yes,
Rubio's not going down to sightsee. That he would have done that this weekend with Alex if he was doing that. So,
correct. Now, group two, the no problem. Let's sit down and talk. The government is part of group two. So there are other groups that are trying to influence them. And I can clearly say that because of all the moves the government has made. 100% of their moves indicate that they're A, going to work with the United States, B, all the problems that the United States has talked about, the ports, the cost of going across, and a few other things. Panama is preparing themselves to answer that and have a plan B if need be. For example, the president's in Davos, and who's the first person he spoke with? Merck. Let's
right.
do ports, right? Let's do ports, right? Let's do port. We're trying to get rid of the Chinese. Bring in Merck, right? So all the government steps, guys out there, don't think Panama is going against U.S. No, all their moves are pro-U.S. to prove, not prove, but to align themselves with the U.S. Because
Absolutely.
remember, Panama has always negotiated with the U.S. And Panama, a good analogy is Panama has always had to negotiate with an elephant. Panama being an ant and an elephant. Think of it like that. So how does the ant negotiate with the big elephant? Doesn't just get stomped. Well, Panama has since 1903 they've done the what they call the international approach, which means that they get everybody, which they also did in '77. They try to get everybody in the world to say, hey, listen, let's back this little country,
Yep.
going up against the big guy. But and then let's just work it out, which is what Panama's always done. Now, one of the things that I saw, Willie, that I like from Group B is, they're saying, which is my uncle's on this group, they're saying, listen, okay, we're going to sit down and we're going to work this out,
Right.
right? So so they're saying Panama, we know what the U.S. wants. So Panama's now going, all right, well, we can use a port in Agua Dulce.
Yep.
We can use another port in Cherokee. We need the railroad
You
to
do that railroad
Cherokee
to
to
David.
Panama build.
Yep.
If we're gonna get rid of the Chinese, let's pay them off. So that's what Group B is doing, which is traditionally what the Panamanians do. And look, they got a freaking country out of that mentality. So the government, guys, is definitely doing exactly what they've always done since
100%.
1903.
Absolutely.
100%.
And that's the thing about Panama, unlike a lot of these smaller third world countries, is Panama has something that is vital to everybody, and that's the canal.
Correct.
And so
That's the kind
therefore
of,
they have a negotiating piece that most of these countries don't have. And so it's a different and more unique situation. Jill brings up a great point there. The Panama paper scandal has a lot to do with it. Yeah, that opened the eyes to a lot of people. And like we said earlier, the corruption goes deep and goes far. And it's not just, we used to always grow up traditionally thinking that, you know, the bigger, more developed countries didn't have that corruption. That was a third world country problem. And it's far from the truth, as we've now learned. That's maybe one of the pluses of the information age is that you can't hide things as much as you used to be able to do. But your point, Jill, about it's taken 25 years to build up, and the U.S. knew about it and risked and never stopped. 100%. And this has been something both Democrats and Republicans have been at the helm for 25 years and have chosen to look away and let China continue to grow its influence, to continue to indebt Panama more and more. There's a lot of allegations of several presidents in Panama taking bags of money in order to keep acquiescing to China. I think when
Ports.
the ports themselves, there's some serious audits that are going to start going on there,
Wait,
and
wait, already they've already
well,
the
and
ports
it's going
have
to get
not paid
ugly.
Panama a penny in the last 3 years, not
Yes,
a
can you
dime.
believe that?
Okay, they
For
have
one of the
not
most
paid Panama.
vital shipping real estates in the world,
They
and
have
they're
not
not
paid the
paying
government not a
for it.
penny.
Now,
Well,
how do you do that?
some say that board members and presidents and other people are getting paid,
Of course
just
they
not the
are,
just not the people of Panama.
allegedly.
Right, and that's Group 3, the patriotic group that doesn't want to get rid of that contract.
Right. Yes,
Group 3 also wants to break relations with the US.
correct.
Group 3 also wants to not use the US dollar. So,
Yes.
and the bad thing about Group 3 is the surprise. They think that 100% of the people would stand up behind. I mean, they probably will, but if you read the comments and you look at what even other people are saying, that they're surprised how many people are Group 1 pro US.
Yes. I think more group 2 than group 1. And not
Yeah,
a lot
well,
of
of
people
course,
want.
Group 2 is by far the biggest group.
Without a doubt, and that one, I bet you're right. The group 3 and 4. Let's put it this way: it's the China camp or the U.S. camp. You have the
Right.
extremes on both ends, and then you have the more moderates towards the middle. But you definitely have two distinct camps here. It's the China camp and it's the U.S. camp. And now Panama is the chessboard. Who's going to win it? We're going to see here. But the truth of the matter is, when all this broke out, I think a lot of the pro-China camp was just rubbing their hands going, okay, this is great, we can get a lot of people on our side, and they were absolutely flabbergasted that so many
Correct.
Panamanians are like, they're probably right, man. We really probably need to work this out again, and I'd rather have them than these guys. And I think that has blown them away, and in some ways, who knows if that maybe emboldened the Trump administration to keep pushing the narrative because they realize, hey, we're not getting a lot of pushback on this. So, that in itself is going to create political pressure in Panama, as this thing ratchets up to say, hey, go to the table and negotiate a good deal for us. These guys are, they mean business.
Willie, something else I've seen is they're trying to push the history, right? And what they're doing, they're making more people understand that, hey, the United States is actually the good guys.
Yes, yes,
They're starting to see that these guys are not
absolutely.
what we've been told they were. And like a lot will say, look how bad they were. They did this, and you'll see somebody comment, yeah, but they gave us a country.
Right? I mean, for God's
What
sake, they gave
trumps
us life.
that? Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
no, for sure. And we've said this before that you know I think a big part of this, and we're going to pat ourselves on the back here, Ricky and I, because we started this from early on. This narrative of the debt. And I think that narrative kicked a big firestorm in Panama that suddenly made people really take the blinders off and say, hey, who are these Chinese that are sitting here doing this stuff? And why are they being so benevolent and offering us all these things? And
You
and
know, you know,
and you
they've
start looking
been
at the
here for a
history and you
long
find
time,
out that it's it's nobody was
and
talking
they've
about
done
it.
business with Panama for a long time, but
Yes.
not to this level, and this level of debt, and this level of so-called influence, etc. Because the Chinese have been doing business in Panama for a long, long time.
Absolutely. Well, and
From
there was,
Chinese cars to Chinese telecom
a
to
lot of people don't realize that there was it was a seismic shift when they broke relations with Taiwan and went to
2017.
China. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
that
the
was
debt went like
2017.
this.
That was and you think about this. They started going to bed with the Chinese in 1996 was when they first started negotiating that whole port deal, knowing that in 3 years the
So is
US
the
was
whole
out.
world. Well, like you said earlier, so is the whole world. Everybody was
Yes,
engaging the Chinese at the time, right? So
absolutely, absolutely. And so that was already in the works, but it didn't go on until 2017 is when you look at Panama prior to 2017. Yes, it certainly was getting bigger and growing. And there's no doubt that when the U.S. was there, I think the reliance on the U.S.'s income and support was enough to keep Panama happy, where they were fine with the level of growth they had.
Well, we do a lot of trade. Our biggest
Well,
trade
I think
partners,
they were
are
comfortable.
them.
I think it was
Yeah,
really comfortable. And once the U.S. left, Panama said, "Hey, you know what? This is our chance to grow and be our own country,
and they
not be
have grown, and they have
tremendous." You
helped.
look at the
Yeah.
skyline in Panama City when we left in
Well, look at
1989.
the
You look at it
canal, new
now,
canal.
and
Yeah,
a
they
new
have a new
canal,
canal,
certainly.
new ports, new
New
piers.
ports, the
Yeah,
railroad's been modernized, and metro. I mean, who ever thought that Panama would have a metro and a subway system? So without a doubt, they have flourished. But it's no coincidence that much of that started as soon as they told Taiwan to hit the road, and China came in. And so again, you understand the way things have worked in Panama. I mean, every one of us that lived down in Panama, if you drove a car, you have been involved in corruption. We know that corruption works that way. Our driver's license had a little pouch on it so we could put $5 in there. So when you get pulled over, the cop comes back and says, "Slow down, man," and you leave and your money's gone, right? Everybody paid cops off, everybody paid building inspectors off, and guess what? Everybody paid the people running the canal off, apparently, allegedly. And so
allegedly. Yeah.
all of a sudden Panama has accepted all these deals, and you fast forward to 2024, and now Panama is in debt to China to the tune of 20 something billion dollars, and everybody's now recognized China as being a country known for debt trap diplomacy, with the aim of taking control of these things when you can't pay those loans back. And now when Panama says, "Well, let's go refinance this loan." We've all done that, right? We refinance a home or whatever. Well, now that credit rating is lowered, so that is becomes more difficult to do as a result of the debt they've incurred from China. Look at Zambia, look at Sri Lanka, look at all these places, read about them, guys. You'll see this story is repeating itself in Panama. And the results each time has been China takes over a key asset of theirs in exchange for the money that they can no longer pay back.
Yeah, look at the fishing. They're already doing, taking back, I guess, through fishing. But listen, another good thing that's happening from the government, which goes back to 1903. In other words, Panama government, it's setting themselves up for this negotiation with the Trump team, almost identical to the way they did it in 1903 and 1977. Well, they just hired a lobby group out of the U.S., the BGR, which is a Republican lobby group headed by a guy by the name of David Urban. So
Yes.
David Urban is the new Buena Varilla.
Yes, he is. That's
He's
a great
exactly the
analogy.
same
Yeah, he
exact
sure
thing.
is.
They say they're paying this guy $205,000 a month. Okay, so they're not playing around,
Right.
right? Plus expenses.
Yeah.
And this guy is close to Trump's on the Trump team. He's actually does a lot of commentary on CNN for
Yeah.
pro-Trump stuff. So Panama is smart, doing everything exactly the way they've always negotiated with the big guy. So kudos to Panama, kudos to the negotiating team, kudos to the president, and kudos to that group B, or the second group that I like. What did I tell you, man? My uncle and I have been on the opposite side of politics for
Yeah.
my whole entire life.
Right,
For
right,
him and
right.
I finally to be on the same side, I'm like, oh,
Right.
so good.
And
He, go
no, go
ahead.
ahead. Dile.
He believes that there's no problem. This is the way. Again, he was the chief negotiator of the 1977
Correct.
treaties,
I mean, this guy
so he knows
knows.
what's up. And a lot of
Certainly.
people are mad at him because he's not more on Group 3, the patriotic group, and he's like, look, this
He's
is the
looking out for the
U.S. and
best
China,
interest of
right?
Panama. And he recognizes that right now, if we continue being in bed with China, it's not going to end well.
It's not going to end well for. So yes, I'm
He's
glad you
looking
said,
out
because
for
that's
Panama.
exactly what he's
Absolutely, he
doing.
is. That's exactly what
Yeah,
he's doing. What a former president should be doing.
correct,
Absolutely. I mean, that's
correct.
his country, for God's sakes. So
So right on, Aristides, man, you're
yes,
cool.
well
You're a
done.
Zonian
But
now.
and truly, I believe a lot of people feel that way simply for that reason. They recognize that, hey, listen, we don't want to give this canal back to the United States, and I think,
Correct.
quite
We're
frankly, a
going to
lot of them
keep it
don't
this
necessarily
way.
believe that's the case. Jill made a point here, concerned about Trump, and the negotiations. And while I do understand where you're coming from, because his position is he's taken a very far position, but if you understand Donald Trump, and this is something he's done since way before
In
any
his book.
political yes, the art of the deal was all about lining yourself up in a position of strength to then negotiate down to what you actually want,
In other
right?
words, throw a little bit further out because you know you're going to
Certainly.
be out here.
And here's the beauty of it. Okay, this is where the diplomacy place works out. He's going to allow Mulino to save face, because when they negotiate and Trump gets what he wants, which my opinion is, I think what he's after is Howard Air Force Base and a Navy base.
Sherman.
Okay, and maybe an Army base in there somewhere, or mix that one
Well,
up.
Sherman's
Like,
Navy too, right? Isn't Sherman
yeah,
Navy as
yeah.
well?
But that's what I think they're after, and then maybe a couple of board seats on the Panama Canal. The commission, the boards there, and
Correct,
everything,
Willie.
and they do that. And Molino says, "Look, the guy didn't get the canal back like he said he was, and he said he's taking the canal back. We stopped it. We didn't let him do that. We're going to get some additional protection here." And guys, there's another.
Ports, railroads. You'll see. Panama's
Absolutely.
like that. They're going to absolutely get a whole bunch of stuff.
So this is
So this is actually win-win-win all the
the
way
art of the
around.
deal. The
The art of
art
the
of the
deal.
deal
And
right
the
here.
Panamanians know it better than anybody else. They've been dealing with the Americans since 1903 on a very even level.
Listen, the
Okay?
United States invaded Panama in 1989 and immediately installed a government and got the hell out of there again. Okay, they had every reason to turn around and say, no, you know what, we're going to stay, and in fact, we're going to renegotiate none of that stuff.
Or we're going to do the deconsigny and forget you guys, right?
Absolutely, they did none
So
of
they
those
obviously
things.
aren't. That's not their.
Now,
Yeah.
one other piece that is important to think about here, guys. Okay, when you think about the geopolitical situation, not just in Panama, but in Latin America in general. Okay, China's been making inroads in several places there. They have a new deep water port in Peru that they're getting ready to open up, and that one certainly is a dual purpose port. That's been proven already. They have a port in Argentina they're trying to get control of now to get.
Yeah, to get the bot right, so
Think
they
of
can
that
control
strategic
that
waterway
choke
there.
point.
Without the
Yeah,
canal, where does every ship go? Okay,
down the other end. Correct.
but the biggest
I'd be
key in Latin.
surprised if Malay gives them that port, man.
The thing about Latin American politics is that unless you're really in strong, or you have some kind of strong backing, they change back and forth. Look at Brazil. Brazil goes from right wing to left wing to right wing to left wing, like the sun rises and drops. But the biggest key, guys, that we also have to keep in mind here, and this is something that Panama certainly keeping in mind, is Venezuela. Okay,
Hmm.
Venezuela, one of their biggest allies is China.
Yeah,
China,
they're a proxy to China, and I've been saying
100%.
that. I've been saying that if anybody's gonna hit the canal, Willie, it's gonna be a proxy. It's not gonna be China. It's gonna
Certainly.
be Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua.
But
They're proxies,
Cuba at this
or
point,
even Iran, because
Iran
Iran does
and
use
China are the two that are really pumping in Venezuela. Okay,
right,
those are
right,
the two
right.
that are running Venezuela.
And
And
I've
if
been
you've been
talking about that.
watching the news in Panama for the last 30 to 60 days, the friction between Panama and Venezuela has continued to ratchet up and ratchet up. Just last week, Venezuela said, we're going to invade Puerto Rico and free that country. The elected president of Venezuela was in Panama 2 weeks ago. These guys were received as dignitaries. That pissed off Venezuela. So Panama's rethinking their relationship with China from the position of, you know, we can't both be friends and be enemies at the same time. And China's the one that's running that show. So you suddenly have to pick which side you go to. If Venezuela and Panama start butting heads, and China's there, what do you think China's going to do? Whose side are they
I
going to
say they're
take?
proxy. They're going to use them as proxy. Look,
Of
he's
course
been
they are.
flying his F-16s closer and closer to the borders.
Hmm.
So to fly an F-16 and hit Panama, and fly back the U.S. can't react fast enough.
Correct.
So that is what worries me more
Well,
than
that's why they want Howard Air Force Base. They need an Air
right.
Force base, a presence
And that's why
down
we're
there
landing
close enough.
F-18s there as well.
Yeah,
For
yeah. I
that
don't think
same
that was done
reason.
by chance. Yeah.
That was
So,
yeah.
so these are all the dynamics that are taking place here, and why Panama has not taken Trump's words and taken them with offense and wanted to retaliate.
Group B.
Th-
Group
There,
B.
Group B.
Group A and B, or
Well,
one and two, whatever they
let's
want.
look at the
I forget.
history of Panama. When the country doesn't like something, they take to the streets. Okay. And there's a lot of people that expected all these people to start
Closed up
marching down the
mine.
streets saying, Trump go home, Yankee go home. And none of that ever
Well,
happened.
that
And
would
it
be
just
Group
shocked these
3 and
people.
4, and
Understood.
they
But what
just
I'm
don't have the
getting at is that
people.
it didn't happen, is my point.
Oh yeah,
And
yes,
that's
it didn't
and the
happen. You're right,
Panamanian
Willie.
government read the tea leaves and realized, hey, wait a minute, most of this country is not bothered
Yeah,
by what Trump said.
the only guy that went up there was that guy Saul Mendes. You know, he was the
Yes.
only one. And everybody's like, oh man.
Yep, absolutely.
If
So that
anything,
was
20 or
that was a
25
loud
guys will
message to
show
the
up.
Panama government, to Molino and these guys saying, hey, our country is not necessarily anti-Trump in spite of what he said here.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
he's,
yeah.
this guy's,
Oh,
you're
he's
the
read the
president of
tea
the
leaves.
country.
He's
You've
good.
you've risen to ranks because you know what you're doing. He's smart enough to
Yeah,
realize and recognize this is my opportunity to do
yeah.
something good right now. And you have, timing is good. The window is opened up for him to do this. If this doesn't happen now, I don't think China ever gets out of there, and only it's going to make things
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah, I would
So,
love to see the Canal Zone community back Molino because he truly is doing a remarkable job, guys. I'm
yeah.
telling you, man.
And if you ask me what I think the outcome will be, and are you going to get your house back in El Prado? No, I
No,
really don't think so. I don't think it's
listen.
practical. If
Yeah,
listen, if we were to negotiate with Panama, and let's say we're going to pay off your entire debt, we're going to do this, this, and this for you in exchange for the canal zone. Let's just assume that Panama says yes. I don't think we're going in there and going, hey, all you Panamanians, here's a paycheck, get out so we can bring our Americans back in here. You're not going to do that.
no.
And in
Look, look.
2024, they're not going to need that many people to do it because they already got people running the canal as is. They'll let them run the canal. So that to
Plus
me,
AI can do a lot of that work. Now, listen.
exactly.
One thing for sure, this show and absolutely everybody in the world agrees to one thing, and I hate the people who talk about this. Nobody is questioning the how good Panama runs operational
Correct.
level the canal. We 100% agree with everybody. We're not saying that the Chinese are at the operational level. Management, board of directors, ports, different.
Yeah, we've
Canal
learned through the
operations,
grapevine that China pays less in tariffs.
yeah, we know that.
We know
Now,
that.
there is a speaking of that, Willie. So actually, that would be Group 5. Group 5 would be American Zonians living in the former Canal Zone with an opinion. And we actually found that person, and he is put out a video recently on YouTube, and it's being accepted by the biggest influencers in Panama. And that gentleman's name is Matt Tomlin.
And Matt
I
Thomas was
would
an artist.
love to have him on the show. Guys, if
He's
you haven't seen his video on YouTube, look it up. I don't know the title. Willie shared it on our think tank. Wow. And then I saw Panama's biggest influencer. His name is Barcelo, talking about it. I mean, Barcelo has like 1 million people that follow him in Panama. Remember, Panama's only got 4 million, so 1 million
but
is a
that's
lot.
still alive, regardless.
If he's at that level, but he's at, it maybe not 1 million, but it feels like 1 million.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and he was talking about how on point for both Panamanians and Americans. I saw it.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting that you mentioned that, Ricky, because he did put out a video and it did get a lot of publicity, a lot of
Traction.
airtime,
Yeah.
a lot of traction. There are some that say that there was a lot of things missing from
Yeah,
that
there's some mistakes
context
in
wise.
there. But
But you know what?
yeah, don't go for 100% because nobody's
We
100%.
can't. We can't. And,
Yeah.
and again, everybody's going to have their opinions. There's a lot of strong opinions. Listen, there's still a lot of opinions about the treaty that it was whether it was valid or not. And
Yeah, we got a guy that we might bring on. As long as
you
we
know,
can get him to behave, we'll bring him on so we can hear that angle.
yeah, there's. I mean, listen, there's a lot of stuff out there that different opinions, different policies and beliefs.
This show's all about listening to all the
It
opinions.
is. It is. We're open to all sides and what everybody has to say and everybody's opinions because neither Ricky or I are experts in this stuff. Okay, we've never been
And
trained
we
on this stuff,
listen to everybody.
but we just
Yes,
like
we
to
do.
listen to stuff. We like to read about it, and truly, we have a group that we do actually discuss and throw out ideas, and there are times that we go, actually, I don't think that would be the case because of this, and so it's. I enjoy that kind of discourse anyway, and this is one that's near and dear to all of our hearts, including most of you guys out there in the audience, I'm sure. And so, hence the comments. But at the end of the day, none of us, first of all, our opinions don't matter, okay, because they're going to do what they're going to do regardless. But let's just let it play out. It's fun to have intelligent discourse. I thoroughly enjoy it. I thoroughly having, great debates and exchanging points
Yeah.
of view and just see where it
And
happens. But this one has a canal angle to it that's again near and dear to all of our hearts. And so we're gonna listen and we're gonna participate and we're gonna have opinions. Let's just respect everybody's opinions. That's all.
right. Yeah. And guys, all the stuff that we talked about, it comes from our network and our sources. And I'm telling you, we have
Yeah.
some really,
We
really
do. We
inside
really do.
sources, both in the Canal Zone and Panama, So yeah, thank you, everybody, for
Yeah,
really
I
listening
actually,
to us
believe it or not, I actually
and
had a
comment.
phone call from somebody, and we won't mention the name, Ricky, but Ricky and I were talking about this earlier in the week. That a couple of big news outlets here in the United States wanted to talk to some Zonians, and at one point,
Oh,
the
yes.
possibility of even reaching out to us here because of the fact that we're
They
bringing a
might
lot to
be
the
at
table,
the reunion right now. They
and
might
so
be at
it
the
is a
reunion.
possibility. But if not, oh well, it is still something fun. But a lot of people are starting to get their eyes on what we're talking about because we have brought a lot of points to the forefront and several things that have been brought to the table in the conversation out in the public domain have first popped up on this show for so we're getting some credibility from some people out there that
I
are.
know. Well, no, we're just lucky, Willie. We got some
It's
good
fun though,
sources,
but we're
man.
doing
We
it
got
from the
some good
heart, and we're
sources.
doing it out of genuine interest and curiosity in what's going on. Because especially for people like myself and Ricky, where you know we have family in Panama, we have Panamanian blood, and so this impacts us on both sides. In fact, I remember during the canal treaties, there was a lot of members of my family that were certainly in the opposite camp of myself and my brother and sister and my dad and probably my mom, with regards to whether the canal was going to go one way or the other at that time. So it is something that's a hot topic, and it's always going to be. That's as long as we're living and breathing, we're going to be Zonians, and the
We're gonna be
Panama
talking about
Canal
it
is.
every week. Every week, we're gonna give you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
an update
Until it settles,
until.
that's going to be the case.
Well,
So
yeah, next week we'll be able to talk about what Rubio did in Panama. But I believe Rubio's there for immigration because, guys,
yeah,
Panama and the United States, we have a lot of things in common. We have a free trade agreement together. We have a there's an incentive to develop software in Panama.
sure.
AI software.
We have a lot of
We
drug interdiction operations with Panama that has always
yes,
gone
drug
on. I mean, there's a
interdiction.
lot of close international law enforcement with Panama.
Protecting the canal. That's
Hmm.
that's like another tree that obligation between our countries.
I mean, even
There's
Andrew Eftimitis has told us about how, for a while there, when he was port captain, he liaisoned a lot with the U.S. military. They weren't just somebody that got in line and hey, I'm next
well,
and pay your toll and go through. There was
it's in the
always
treaties.
coordination. Yes,
Right, it's
absolutely,
in the
there is.
treaties actually that the U.S. has a group which is comprised of DEA, I believe it's FBI and DHS.
Correct.
They
Correct.
have a group that works with Panama because it's in the treaty for the protection of the canal.
Certainly.
So we
Certainly.
Panama, Rubio's not just coming to talk about what Trump said, which I'm sure will probably take up the majority of the conversation, but Panama and the U.S. have other points to
Yeah.
discuss. And the job they're doing together in the border, in the gap, Darien Gap, is just phenomenal.
Yeah, and that cooperation
92%.
started before Trump. That was going on during the
Yes,
Biden administration that they started
correct.
shutting down that border and really restricting traffic through there. So it's something that even through this transition from one government to the other in the United States, this job continues, which kind of goes to what Ricky was just saying earlier, that outside of the canal itself, there's a lot of cooperation between the United States and Panama, always has been,
Right.
and that
And they're
certainly
not going to
plays a
screw
role
that up.
because
Yeah.
absolutely we're friends in many other arenas, and so there's no reason why this one's going to be adversarial. Again, granted the words and the verbiage that Trump uses,
Oh, and
That's who he
shipping,
is.
shipping too, Willie,
Of
shipping
course.
too. You know, all the Panamanian registered ships that are now sanctioned by the
Yes.
U.S. Panama withdrew their registration, so they can't
Correct.
get shipping insurance. So I've seen Panama and U.S. work together, many. So don't think that don't follow Group 3 and 4 guys.
Yeah.
They're not. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean you can
They
follow
love to
whoever you
see a
want,
rift
but
there.
if you want to be on a winning team, 3 and 4 is not it. My opinion. My opinion. I could be
Yeah.
wrong because, like I said, Willie, some of the names that I've seen on Group 3 and 4 blow. 3 are the obvious names, right? Torrijos, Valladares, Balbina Herrera.
Sure.
That no one's
People
going to
that,
get
that that
behind
a
those
lot
guys.
of that a lot of people in Panama will argue have benefited from the Chinese
Correct, the canal
relationship,
and
and
the canal.
and the canal, right?
Right, right.
They
And
kind of
then
went
Group
hand in
4, the
hand.
Chinese, is the one that's blowing me away, like the Mota family. That's the biggest family in Panama.
Well, but
Fi- you know,
these guys are they're all about
and
international
they're
trade.
pro-China's. Linares pro-China. That blows me away that those families would be on that side. But it is what it is. Like I said, everybody's
You know,
entitled to be on whatever
s-
side they want
s-
to be.
and
And
some of these groups, a lot of times that loyalty will change with who they feel is the one that's going to end up on top.
yeah,
And
I'll
right
give
now,
Linares break because his father was in the government, that Chiari's government, that broke relations with the U.S.
yeah.
So we got to give him, expect him to be on that
Certainly.
side.
Well, listen, everyone has their thoughts and positions, and certainly that historical backing, which I mean that's certainly, we all are our products of our families a lot of times, and so you hear things and see things in the household all the time, and that's the way you're, funny story. So back in the days of Torrijos,
It's a great one, Jill.
and your uncle certainly would have known my uncle, David Pere. He was ambassador in Costa
Wait.
Rica.
That's how we're related to the Pere family. That's how we're
Yes.
related. I told you to the Pere, right?
So,
And
but
that's on
anyway,
the Sanchez side, Willie. And
correct.
yes,
So funny story about that. So I'm in Costa Rica, and I'm 7, 8, 9 years old. But this is probably around the time that the treaties were starting to get talked about. And so for Zonians, Torrijos was not somebody that was obviously appreciated, because here's the guy who's trying to take the Canal Zone from us, right? So I'm in the car with my aunt and my cousin. She's driving. She was much older than I am, but they were talking about something. And again, I'm just a little kid sitting in the back seat minding my own business, and they mentioned Torrijos. And that conversation. Oh, no, that's right. They didn't mention Torrijos. She said some word like a pendejo or something else, but it was some derogatory term. And I was like, como Torrijos, like Torrijos. Let me tell you what, man, my aunt turned around, and the death stare she gave me and just berated the shit out of me, man. Don't you ever say that. I mean, very much to your point, very pro on that side, and these guys could do no wrong, man. And that was, you know, again, that's my family. That's my mom's sister. But and here my mom is married to a Zonian, and we're getting ready to live in the United States, and yet even in families there was that division and stuff. And to your point, Ricky, these families that are now the pro China side, you know they benefited from a lot of this stuff. Again, allegedly they benefit from a lot of this corruption, and so they want more of it, because they know that the Chinese, every time they come to the table to renegotiating, they bring bags of money. That's just a known
yeah,
fact.
that's
you
just a
know
known fact.
you walk in there with empty hands, and you walk out of there after a handshake with a suitcase or a bag somewhere, and somehow you
Well,
voted
that's
in
what they're
favor of
talking about,
China.
the ports. The
Yeah,
ports,
of
that
course they did.
some of that stuff happened. Listen, Jill, that's a great statement. We lived it, everyone else read about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like
absolutely.
that. Let's write that down. Can we steal that from you, young lady?
Yeah, we're gonna have to put a disclaimer here. Anything that is posted as a comment on the show becomes property of the show. So thank you, Joe, for the
Yeah.
donation. No, but it's true. And
That's beautiful. I'm gonna use it,
it is.
Jill. And
Listen,
anyone else?
people out, and we know that this is a global story. In fact, last week I think the foreign minister of Germany opined on it. And so
Yeah,
certainly
yeah.
European leaders have, and in other countries they have. Putin's opined on it.
It's
So
in the news in Indonesia.
the whole world depends on the Panama Canal for moving goods. Okay, that is
Yeah,
the most
yeah.
vital transit point in the world, just about. And so it is news for everybody, and everybody has an opinion. But guess what? There's only a very small population of Americans and Panamanians that have lived it and grew up in it, to Jill's point. And so you have to listen to our point of view here, because we were there,
Coming
man.
from,
We
yeah,
had our hands in the dirt, literally, man.
yeah,
So you can't tell me things that you might speculate not having been there. I don't care what you
yeah,
say.
yeah. Well, you know how you had that statement at the beginning, real deep to your heart. I have a quick one. I'm going to be real short because I gave you a hard time about taking
Yes,
too
of
long.
course.
Mira, ya se me olvidó.
It was gonna be a good one though. I'm pretty sure, man.
It was gonna be good. Oh my god. Oh yes. Oh yes. It's like this. Listen, and I think I speak for the vast majority of Zonians, because there's a lot of people in Panama that think that the entire Canal Zone community thinks that we're gonna be moving back to the Canal Zone and going back to our
Right.
old jobs. Let's just put this out to the record, and I know I can speak for a lot of you guys out there, and if I don't, too bad. We Zonians do not think we're going to be moving back to the Canal Zone anytime soon, back to our houses, back to our old jobs.
Yep.
None of that. That is not
Although if it happens, I
the
think
Zonian, the vast majority of Zonian mentality. So let's just make sure
yeah, no, you're
everybody that's
absolutely right there. But if
watching
by
this
chance
show
it
thinks that.
happens, I think that Kenny Gall will be the Canal Zone police chief, because he's already has the pad with the Canal Zone tickets on it, so
Yeah,
he can
yeah.
start writing tickets for people and shit like that.
Right,
So
right, right,
we're
right.
good
So,
there. But no, listen, Chris
hey,
Jeffrey's a
Chris.
great point there about Torrijos, right? Look at that. He had an Uber driver named Omar because his father worked for Torrijos, and it was a lot of people were admirers of that guy. When he died, that parade, that ceremony, that funeral, my God, it was massive. I mean, the country loved that guy because he's the one that, you know, it, starting from the late 60s, as we've seen from the 64 riots, from the late 60s and probably actually late 50s is when it really started kicking in. There was a lot of groups that were trying to undermine the United States Panama relationship. And a lot of those people were
Russia, the
getting
Soviet
in.
Union.
The Soviet Union, certainly, and at that time there was a lot of Marxism movements in Latin America, and they would typically creep in through the universities and things of that nature, and that's why these things
Mhm.
started to happen. And so, Torrijos at that point, the narrative. I mean, remember, Torrijos came into power in 1968. All right, he had been in power for 10 years, just about, when the treaties were finally signed. So this guy was a figurehead in Panama by now. He was the
But
voice of
listen,
Panama, and he's the one that won the canal back from the United States. So that name carries a lot of weight in Panama, and to this day it still does. But the reality is
yeah,
China has tarnished a lot of that now, and so therefore people are a little bit less gung ho about following that agenda anymore.
so that's exactly what we've been talking about. Listen, in the 70s, people could identify with Torrijos. They felt like they identified it with him. Today, those same Panamanians from those same groups of people that follow Torrijos, they don't feel that from the canal. And that's what
Right.
the big message has been. Many Panamanians don't feel any benefit of any kind from the canal. So they don't have that love that they had for Torrijos during that time. And
Yes.
that's what's missing on this time around. It's that identifying with, either the canal, which is what they really need, because there is no Torrijos in Panama. There's nobody that
And
resembles
let's
that
face it, this guy. I
thing.
mean, he died 40 plus years ago. It's been a long
Yeah,
time. That's it's
yeah.
not. It wasn't just
Well, yeah,
yesterday.
and
There's a whole
Willie,
generation that's gone now that celebrated him. That's no longer there.
yeah, I mean, a lot of the comments that I read, people don't even know who the heck he was.
That's what I
They have to be
mean.
reminded. Yeah,
Yeah, certainly.
but Willie, he was up and coming. The way my family got involved with Torrijos is my grandfather and Morgan and Morgan's grandfather. That's a big
Hmm.
law firm in Panama. They saw Torrijos as was going to come up, and so my grandfather put two of his top kids. One was his helicopter pilot, Jose Manuel Royo, and the other one, Aristides, was his personal secretary. So that's how we got involved with them. Not that
Hmm.
Aristides wanted that job, because he even has you can see it on one of the YouTube. He talks about it. It's just my grandfather was the one that placed him there. Like my
Yep.
grandfather placed my dad at Balboa High School
Yeah.
as well. So Torrijos was up and coming before '68,
Sure.
and
Sure.
yeah, he had enough backing from the like the what they call the technocrats, the families that are not rich but are
Influential.
well educated. Yes, and so those are the ones that came up with Torrijos. That's why
And
he
he
had
was smart enough that he had the countryside behind him.
the countryside, and all the people that worked for Torrijos were young technocrats.
Yeah.
Valladares was just like a kid. Aristides was like 32.
Yeah.
So he grabbed all the smart young kids, and so that figure does not exist right now in Panama to do something that is going to create havoc with this whole Trump thing. That group is just doesn't have the strength, doesn't have the backing, doesn't have the
Sure.
numbers. They really don't,
Sure.
guys.
Well, and
Well,
the country isn't clamoring for it. In fact, the country I
isn't
think
clamoring for
is
it.
in the
Yeah,
other direction. They're like, hey, you know what? We're getting a little tired of this whole China thing. It's
yeah, yeah.
somebody put in the
And
post here earlier that um, in some of these areas, those ports, it's nothing but Chinese workers. It's nothing but Chinese security guards, and that's where I think a lot of times that argument comes out that says, hey, this is those Chinese soldiers and stuff. So, but
I
anyway,
mean, yeah, top politicians have already said, or statesmen have already said that everybody in Panama that needs to know knows there's a lot of espionage in there.
right.
And like Aristides said, look, if they Panama and the U.S. have a history of this. World War II, remember, they gathered all the spies, whoop, immediately. Panama helped. I remember David talked about that. And then we had the concentration camps in Amador.
Yeah,
So
certainly.
Panama has a history of working with the U.S. if there's a war to go and get those spies and go get everybody that can create sabotage. So
Sure.
yeah. So if you look at historical how we've negotiated, if you look at it, you're going to see we don't
I mean,
have a
even
big
on a
problem.
lower scale, my dad used to tell me stories as a Canal Zone police officer. I mean, the amount of times when they and the Panamanian police exchange information. I mean, in some cases, which I think now it's it's safe to say because there's no problems here. But you want to talk about international incidents you could have had. They would exchange prisoners, which was totally defying extradition laws because you really were exchanging between two countries. But they would meet at the limits there at 3 o'clock in the morning and
I
they
remember that. I remember that. My dad
yes,
would tell me
but
about that. Yeah, yeah, you're right.
that was cooperation, man. You just got shit done, right? And
Yeah.
and sometimes
The
it
two
didn't,
people got things
and
done.
people were okay not knowing it, but it got things done. There was a criminal that Panama had that we needed, and we had somebody that they wanted. Okay, well, I'm good here. Here you go. Problem solved. No big deal. But that goes back to that relationship that goes far beyond presidents and world leaders. And this is just, these are two neighbors, these people that grew up together. You're in law enforcement, I'm in law enforcement, so let's work together. And that's the basis for where you can improve these relationships. And I don't think you have that with China. I think if you have any of these people in China, from everything I've heard, when you have a situation or a location or a port where it's Chinese people working there, it's just Chinese. There isn't that intermixing and suddenly you have a Chinese community that's mixing in with the Panamanian community. It's strictly Chinese. And they're offloading them by the boatload. That's the other thing that we talked about when you talk about this whole Rubio thing. There was a lot of people coming in on these boats, and you talk about these ports. How many ships pulled into that port and had unloaded nothing but people to then march them up into the United States in part of this whole immigration scandal that went on? So there's a lot of facets to it, and a lot of the cooperation that I think, back to what we said originally, I don't think Trump ever had the intention of invading Panama or taking the canal, but he's putting the United States here so that we can negotiate down to what we want, and Panama can negotiate up to where they want. We're both happy. Our countries are happy, and it's a win-win. And the only
Yeah, it's
people
a
who aren't happy are
win-win
the
all the way
Chinese. And quite
around,
frankly, if
man.
the Chinese aren't happy, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, in all honesty.
Right,
So.
right. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, right? Right on, man. What a
But
Willie,
anyway,
man.
guys, this has been a great show. It's been another long one, but a lot of
Another long one.
great
Sorry, yeah.
conversation, especially a lot of great conversation with you guys in the audience. We really enjoyed that. Some great points in Michael, David, Starling, great stuff, guys. Great conversations there. A lot of you guys really contributed to the conversations. We appreciate that, guys. So anyhow, thank you so much for joining us. We want you guys, everybody, have yourselves a fantastic weekend. We got some exciting things coming up. We're not quite at the new part of the month yet, so we're not going to get our historical show just yet. Last day of the month is actually next Friday. But after that, though, stay tuned because David Dahlstrom will be joining us again, who's now our official Canal Zone historian, no longer the historian non-historian. So that'll be fun. Also, coming up here in the next couple of weeks our class of 75. They're going to be returning from the Canal Zone reunion. They're down in Panama right now, having a great time down there. So they're going to tell us about that as well, and again rekindle that class reunion back to BHS show, and work our way to the 1975 graduation of our BHS class of 75. So that should be a lot of fun. We do have a K-Pasta segment coming up here in a couple of weeks. Alex Reyes from Shorty and Slim's joining us. Thane Wheeler from the Canal Zone documentaries joining us, so we can start to coordinate together the three of us groups and really build and solidify our Canal Zone community. So stay tuned for that. Thanks everybody for participating. We love having you guys on and sharing these cool memories and sharing some fun, interesting conversations. So appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend. Ricky, man, get us out of here, man.
Hey, thank you again. Bottom of our hearts. We love you very much. We love doing this for you, all you guys. We had a great number of people on our show live tonight. Gracias, gracias, gracias.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
That was good stuff, man. A lot of good comments out there tonight, man. A lot of good stuff out there. Thanks, guys. Paul Austin, enjoy join the show. Reach out to us about CHS if you can, please. Thanks. Have a good weekend, everybody.